appreciate it. Telling that to the colleagues.
He's gonna read a statement.
Exactly. At the beginning of the workshop.
Yes.
And for them.
All right, we ready? Okay, I will open this Grand County Commission workshop at 4 o'clock on July 21st of 2026. We have present Commissioner Hadeen somewhere slipped out. She'll be back. Commissioner Hadler, Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner McGann, Commissioner McCurdy, myself, Commissioner Winfield, and I believe Commissioner McCandless was going to be online, but I don't see her yet. As far as elected officials, we have County Attorney Stephen Stocks. We have Gabe Wojtek, our clerk, auditor, and administrator Mark Tyner. And just before we get going here, there's a couple of little announcements I'd like to make. For one, I'd like to give our condolences to Cody Stewart and his family for their loss. And then on another note, I'd like to introduce Lynn Sitterid, who is replacing Larry Ellerts and will be our representative for John Curtis's staff here. And so with that, we will start the workshop, and I'm going to let the administrator start us off here.
As we begin today's workshop, Chair McCandless would like to remind us that our purpose here is simple but vital: to ensure the financial stability and integrity of Grand County. You all have different perspectives, and that diversity is a strength when it's focused on solutions. But today, let's set aside political rhetoric and concentrate on the numbers, the needs, and the responsibilities that are shared to serve our residents. The budget isn't about ideology, it's about stewardship. Every dollar represents trust placed in you by the people of this county. Honor that trust by working collaboratively, listening carefully, and keeping our attention on what truly matters, building a sustainable path forward. Your responsibility today isn't to win a debate or defend a position. It's to ensure that Grand County remains financially strong and able to serve its people well. Stewardship means looking beyond politics and focusing on what sustains our community: fiscal responsibility, transparency, and collaboration. The numbers won't bend to ideology, but they will respond to teamwork. So please work together, stay focused, and make decisions that reflect that shared stewardship of this county. Let's make this workshop about progress, not politics, about stewardship, not partisanship. Thank you, Melody McCandless. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And with those words, we'll do our best. Here, Melody, and I would like to start off with Tess and her presentation here, possible? Or were we going to go with?
Do we want to do an overview of the amendment and kind of see where things stand and then go?
That's great, Jake. Please do. Probably that's following Dana's advice there, but let's do the overview.
Let's see. Maybe if we can get sharing. Get some sharing.
Sorry,
so it's okay.
Give me 1 second. All right, we should be good.
I prepared in the packet a number of documents that is teeing up the upcoming mid-year budget amendment that you all will be considering. The first meeting in August will have to entail the opening of a public hearing with approval, and the second meeting of August is how that process will have to go. And so there's I provided summary documents and detailed documents. So rather than having to look at a long 30-page budget document, which has the entire chart of accounts that Grant County administers, I created this summary document that's displayed right now that in some aspects combines some amendments into a single line, so we can see some totals, as well as just kind of breaks it down in a little bit more of a digestible format. So when we talk about the budget with a capital B, oftentimes we're really talking about the general fund, which is Fund 10, and that houses the unrestricted funds that the county uses, that largely funds most of the operational expenses and salary and benefits. And really where the rubber meets the road, or when we talk about the bottom line of the general fund, is we're often looking at this line right here, which is the contribution from the fund balance. And so what that means is,
Sorry, Gabe, I didn't see which line you pointed.
oops, it's right here. It's row 9. Yeah.
Up this,
It's in the,
it's in.
your packet, yes.
The
Summary, Mary.
And so what that is, that's a revenue that we have to budget in order to balance the budget. So, as it relates to governmental accounting, each fund has to be balanced, meaning all expenses need to equal revenues to net out to zero. So if we have expenses that are exceeding the amount of expected revenues that we might expect to receive, that deficit needs to be made up by what we have in savings, or in other words, what we also call the fund balance. And so the approved original 2026 budget had a draw from the fund balance to make up that deficit and bring the fund to balance of $345,824. With a variety of adjustments that are being proposed in this amendment, that draw from savings to bring the fund to balance is reduced to $243,633. The main features of this amendment are a variety of updates to projections of the largely of the sales and use taxes that make up a large amount of the revenues that come into the general fund. And I'll come right back to the general fund, but the rest of this summary just displays mostly minor amendments as they relate to the other funds, which are, for the most part, they administer restricted funds and are sort of self-funded via those restricted funds and are kind of self-containing. Some of the other funds do receive funding support from the general fund, such as the Children's Justice Center or the Family Support Center. But largely these, a fund like the roads is funded by its own types of sales taxes that are restricted for the purposes of those departments. And so largely the other amendments proposed down through these other funds largely relate to adjustments in revenues that fund those funds. Or, for example, say library capital projects, that's where we just administer the capital projects. They had a large HVAC project that we all know about. And so there has to be an amendment or a budgetary action showing the draw from the savings that have been put in over the years in that fund in order to cover a large expense such that as was just made for the library for that HVAC purpose. The other main update proposed in this amendment are adjustments to the expected year-end expenditures related to salary and benefits of staff in the general fund. And so, as a total combined amount, what was originally budgeted in 2020 at the beginning for 2026 was this 15.69 million. And updated projections show that is now at 15.92 million. And so the overall difference, and so now we expect to spend $234,000 more than we originally budgeted for the purpose of salary and benefits. And then there's a number of smaller adjustments, operational expenses. As much as I could at this point in the year, I tried to see some of the department expenses and use what I know about the budget to reduce the budget on certain lines when I know that the spending just wouldn't be there. And likewise, there are some expenses that had to be raised because the year-to-date actuals were already showing at or above budget, and we always want to make sure to amend the budget to reflect those actual expenses and not be over budget on any given line as much as is possible in regards to just general compliance practices. And let's see, and then other revenues as well. So things like building permits and business licenses and the other fees that we collect that would be contained in this sort of other revenues catch-all line. And I tried my best to reduce or increase any of those revenues given the information that we have on hand right now, a little over halfway through the year. And then, so the last thing I'll touch on here, is the just diving in a little bit more into these, this sort of this upper area here, this general sales tax, 0.25% sales tax, TRT and TRCCA. There's more detail available in the agenda packet documents. Sorry, this toolbar is in the way. Okay. And so this is a summary sheet in this first tab, and this appears in the agenda packet as its own document titled summary. This just goes into a little bit more detail and also provides some historical reference for each of these different fund revenue sources. The ones shaded here, so right here, and then this entire block, it's kind of a light gray shading. Those revenues in large part are able to end up into the general fund and offset general fund expenses. And so they're generally unrestricted in most ways. And you can see that either here where this GL code follows the revenue title, that you see this one goes, we pull that revenue directly into the general fund. These ones, 23 is the TRT promotion. So that obviously doesn't go into the general fund, but this 26 side, that's the mitigation TRT fund. And so that is the portion of this line that goes into the general fund. 22 is for TRCCA. So that makes up this tax and the bottom three in this chart. And those we're able to use entirely as a general fund offset.
And which document are you working off of there, Gabe?
This is, let's see, this one is titled proposed 2026 amended tax revenue projection summary. And so in regards to the projection methodology and the update that we used, one thing that we are able to do now is, so we created this column here displays the revenue projections that we crafted and entered into the 2026 budget. At that time, we only had a certain amount of revenue. It was still, we're talking about still end of November. We only had revenue through that time. We had strong months through the end of the year. And that caused that admittedly caused our projections to be like pretty light and pretty softened, but it's definitely better to project conservatively and overperform than get too far out ahead. And so, it puts us in a more advantageous position to see revenues that are actually coming in higher than we expected, so that we can have more flexibility in budgetary decisions. So that largely I guess the last thing I'll say is the transient room tax. For every revenue other than transient room tax, all the methodology that we used is we took the full year totals from 2023, 2024, 2025, along with the totals from January and June, and we kind of plotted those all out in a graph, and then created just a simple linear trend line and extrapolated that trend line out until the end of 2026. And wherever that point held at the end of December 2026, illustrated to us what we would expect to be the projected total, given all of the updated data that we have on hand. And so that resulted in several increases. With the TRT projection, we took a slightly different approach, and this can be found in the proposed amended budget or revenue projection detail. On the there's a page specifically for TRT, and there's just a number. I tried to color code it so it was as easy to follow as possible here. But the challenge, one of the challenges here with TRT is we recently had a rate change from 4.25% to 4.5%. That rate change, as it relates to our actual collections that we received from the tax commission, started with the December 2025 distribution that we received from the tax commission. And the 2026 budget amount that is entered in the budget did, at the time that I was preparing the budget, I did factor in that change to happen. However, in order to compare 23, 24, 25 and then create a projection for 2026, we had to make sure that we were adjusting for that rate change in the appropriate way in order to compare apples to apples. And so basically, I adjusted the December 2025 number as though the rate had been 4.25 still, and then created a linear projection based on that. And then using that data with that linear projection, I was just able to just convert these numbers as though we were operating with a 4.5% rate change. My initial projection figure, you operated with this 4.5% linear projection, and then but also factored in the January to June overperformance that we've experienced, or in other words, the actual receipts that we received this year versus that 4.5% adjusted projection. And so basically, as you can see, the summary down here, that I had initially entered a projection that included that 4.5% linear projection with the overperformance at the request of the. Yeah. At the request of the chair, what is currently entered into this amendment and in all the documents that you see, what I ended up doing was taking the year-to-date actuals, these pink cells right here, and then the 2025 actuals from July to December. So that would filling out the rest of this year. And then converted those as though it were a 4.5% rate. And so basically right now the projection assumes that we're going to have a flat revenue environment through the end of the year compared to 2025 year over year with the rate change adopted. And so I think I've been speaking a lot at a pretty rapid pace about all these numbers and at risk of creating any confusion or losing you. I think I'll stop there. I think that's a pretty good overview of the amendment being proposed at this time.
And so, Dave, do you have any projections of, I know that we looked at the numbers on your first graph there, and get back to that. Showing that our contribution was now at 243,633. And then with salaries and benefits at 234,062. Is that correct?
Right, that's the amount that's the amount sort of that we have to increase because it's more than we budgeted for, 234. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then just for the public and the rest of the commissioners, we now have Commission Chair Melody McCandless is with us online.
You're up.
Yes, go ahead, Trish.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Trish.
I mean, we're talking projections. So what happens if we don't meet those projections? So this number that we're pulling from reserves is kind of the way pulling from savings, just to simplify it. If we don't meet these projections, that number could be larger.
Yeah, there would be a larger draw from the fund balance if those revenue projections aren't met and all expenses that are currently in the budget are executed.
Okay. No, I just kind of just for the general public, I want to kind of have some ideas. I mean, projections are what they are. They're projections. So hopefully.
Commissioner McCurdy.
Just in these projections, the general sales taxes were ahead 174,000.
That's correct. Yep.
And then 174,000 county 0.25% sales tax ahead 14 grand.
Mm-hmm.
TRT mitigation ahead 160,000. TRCC Leopard 12,800, so 13,000. And other revenues were down 65,000. Okay.
Yeah.
And then contributions from fund balance, that's the extra, the 102,000.
Yeah, so the amendment proposes that we're going to be pulling less from savings to balance the budget. So
Okay.
It's a better situation than we started with the year with.
That was the outcome that I was hoping to have stated.
Mhm.
It's a better
Mhm.
situation. it is a better situation that we're in for our constituents than we thought we were gonna be in.
Commissioner Hadler.
And to clarify, so the 243 draw, does that include the additional 234 in salaries?
Yes.
That takes into account that, okay,
Yes, it does.
thank you.
Anyone else? Then I think we can transition over to you, Tess, if you're ready to walk us through all of that.
I am, thank you. And if it's agreeable.
Sorry.
Oh, you're just fine.
So bad here.
If it's agreeable to the commission,
Thank you, Quinn.
I will begin with the cost of living adjustment scenarios that my department created, and then can transition into sharing the new position and reclassification proposals. So to begin, my department has generated a number of cost of living adjustment scenarios for the commission. And for a reminder, the 2026 cost of living adjustment that was adopted for the Social Security Administration was 2.8%. We were not able at the beginning of the year to adopt any modified cost of living adjustment percentage. And the commission during budget season indicated that you all would be interested in us coming back at the mid-year point once we had a better idea of where we were going to be for our year to present this proposal again. So again, context is 2.8% was the 2026 adopted cost of living adjustment for the Social Security Administration. Projected cost of living adjustment for 2027 is currently estimated somewhere between 3.7 to 3.8%. A few months ago, it was somewhere between 3.8 to 4.2. It is based on the easiest way to put it is inflation. And so it will continue to fluctuate, but there is that pattern of it being in the high 3% range. And the official cost of living adjustment is published every October. So we won't have a firm number to work with until October, which we're used to working with the projected amount and then updating the commission as we go through the budget season. So with that, the first scenario that I will show is if we were to adopt the 2.8% cost of living adjustment without retroacting as of pay period ending August 2nd, 2026. So of course, we'll be working through this workshop today. We then have to have the public hearing and then adopt the amended budget. And so this isn't saying that it would absolutely need to go into effect as of August 2nd, 2026. Those are just simply the numbers that I was working with. So for us to adopt a 2.8% COLA starting pay period ending B2 2026 would be $226,491. Of that, $179,558 would be from the general fund. And I apologize, I try to make this a little bit bigger. It's a little tough too with this many lines. So again, highlighting that general fund number because that is typically what we're most conscientious of. But the total would be the $226,490.
And can I clarify, that's to put into place on August 2nd, a 2.8% COLA that would finish the rest of the year. That wouldn't backtrack to the beginning.
That's correct. This is not our retroactive proposal, which I talked about earlier. Yes, thank you. And so when I say pay period ending August 2nd, 2026, that means that it would be the pay period. Essentially, it's the pay period that we're currently in. Again, these are just simply the projections that I made for the purposes of this. What I will say is with the 2.8% COLA, the rough amount per pay period is about $20,000. And so if we determine that we weren't able to adopt it until later on, if say we wait 1 or 2 additional pay periods, it would reduce by approximately $20,000 to $40,000 based on when it were to go into effect. And those are, again, all numbers and projections that we can certainly amend based on what the commission deems appropriate, feasible, prudent.
Yes, sir.
I know this is a workshop and we're working through this. Can I also see, thank you for the projections, by the way, it really helps me out doing math. But can I also see a projection minus elected officials? With
It's
elected
right there.
officials?
It's not very much. It's like $290.
I see commission, I see,
Oh, you want all like.
yeah, all elected officials.
Yes, I'm more than happy to put that together.
I could do the math. It'd just take me a little longer right now.
That's no problem. So as was indicated, we do have the commission broken out separately. However, if we were looking at all classified elected positions, then I'd be able to put that together as well. No problem. So for this next scenario, and I'll preface that these were the requested scenarios for us to put together. It's not our full range of options. We of course have other options available to us, but for the purposes of this workshop, I went ahead and used the projected percentages that I was requested to come up with. So if we were to implement a modified 1% cost of living adjustment, so if the 2.8% is not a number that would be appropriate or feasible at this time to adopt, again, using that pay period ending August 2nd, 2026, without any retroacting, the total cost of a cost of living adjustment to go into effect as of that pay period ending 8/2/26 through the end of this year would be a total of $82,783. And of that, the general fund would account for $66,102 of that adjustment. And I'll go ahead and keep taking through scenarios, but please feel free to ask me any questions that you have as we're going through this exercise. So this next scenario is again another scenario that was requested for my office to calculate on, and that was using a 1.8% cost of living adjustment. So again, another modified percentage, and again using that pay period ending August 2nd, 2026 through the end of this year. That projected calculation is $145,552 approximately, with a general fund accounting for $115,425 of that total amount.
I have a question. Can you also provide us what this would do for a full year as well? Because this decision just isn't for, August through December. This is what we will be adding to the budget for 2027 as well, unless we would be looking to take COLAs away. So I just want to make sure that I understand what that number is as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I can put those numbers together for 2027 specifically. That'll take a little bit more time, but absolutely able to do that.
You could estimate it almost just doubling it and adding a hair, just a little bit more.
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
the end.
Okay, well, it's starting in August. I just want.
Thank you. And so to speak to that point, actually, if we were to look at, again, retroacting the 2.8% COLA from January of 26 through the end of this year, this is our most, I would say, rudimentary calculation, and that's because we have had a number of staff changes, since the beginning of the year. But if we were just working off of the staff that we currently have now, the positions that we currently have filled, the projected calculation for cost of living retroacting from the beginning of this year through December of this year is $543,722.
What did you say? Excuse me, I didn't hear.
544.
Oh, yes, $543,722. And of that, the general fund would account for $432,808 of that. So as Commissioner Havler spoke to, again, for a really rudimentary calculation of a 2027, it would be that 543 or 544,000 with likely a little bit additional, certainly depending on if we're, backfilling all of our positions, based on staff achieving milestones and exemplary increases based on our paper performance plan, et cetera.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Just a curious question. If one of the proposals is considering retroactively billing it, is there a different tax implication? And that might be a off the cuff question. I don't know if, you know, if going forward in lieu of doing that, you do a higher percentage, but I'd hate to retroactively do it and then everybody's met with a surprise tax bill that they wouldn't have necessarily had, but for it being implemented at the beginning of the year.
That's an excellent question. Thank you for calling that out. So with that, there are specific considerations if we were to take a retroactive approach as opposed to say, rating it different, say prorated cost of living adjustment through the end of this year. Some of those considerations do include that if staff do receive a fairly large back pay sum, then there can be tax implications for that. Oftentimes, if we have staff in that situation, they go exempt for a pay period. There's some other considerations such as back pay adjustments that we would need to make to Utah retirement systems, because of course those URS contributions are based on salary. And so if we are retroactively adjusting salary from the beginning of the year to date, then we would also need to be making some of those adjustments. So it would take quite a bit of administrative work, which is okay. And it would also mean that we would really need to do a great job of communicating to the staff exactly what those different implications look like so that they can make fully informed decisions.
And then one other note off that, it'd also probably be interesting or somewhat difficult if we had employees that previously worked for the county in the year, and then maybe they departed or retired or whatever, and then calculating whether those individuals would get the raise or the back pay as well, which might be difficult.
Yes, and what I would say is my response to that would be that we wouldn't be able to pay non-employees essentially for that retroactive amount, which is the case for any situation. But if we were to, again, there are other options that we could look at, whether it be that we say subsidize this with, and I'm not saying that any of these ideas are superior to others, but just different ideas we've been kicking around is anything from one-time bonuses that we come up with some type of calculation, whether it be that, again, we do some type of essentially supplemental cost of living adjustment. The caution that I would have with that would be, again, what is the feasibility of carrying that into 2027? I wouldn't want to give staff, say, a 4% cost of living adjustment and then say we have to take it down starting 2020, January 1 of 2027. Those would be really difficult situations for staff to figure out how to navigate budgetarily, et cetera. So I wouldn't want to put that burden on them. But again, we have different options and scenarios that we can certainly continue to explore based on what the commission deems is.
Yes.
Are we done with the COLA discussion then? Meaning, are you done with your part of the?
These were all of the scenarios that I had ready to present for you all today.
So I just have a recommendation for the chair, and obviously you don't have to take it, but I'm just wondering if we chip away at these one by one. Right now, we discuss COLAs, we do a straw poll, so we make a decision. We've been budgeting is, I think, really hard for all of us, and we don't like to make decisions, but I think we need to chip away at this and make some decisions. So that would be my recommendation. And I'd make a recommendation on COLAs right now.
I'm open to other thoughts, but my own thought is that I'd like to get through the end of this and see what we've got and then come back and start making those modifications once we've got a full picture of everything. I think it'd help me at least. So, yes, sir.
I think getting through the workshop and seeing where we're at, I know this is gonna be, I know budget talks are gonna go into the next and into decision making. So I would like to get through our workshop today into, I would say this, an action item, or up to action items in the next meeting in the future.
Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry, I have one more fun inquiry or question. So some of these, and not very many of these items, are also going to be funded. Some of them wouldn't be funded out of the general fund, like TRT positions.
That's correct, yes. And so we broke it down by fund. So again, general fund, office of tourism, roads, libraries, sand flats, et cetera.
Raising that additional.
Yep, thank you.
Yes, Brian.
And so we just have two more things to consider, right? We have the reclassifications and then the contributions.
For my presentation, I just have the new positions and classifications.
And that's it. Okay, but can I have a?
Yes, go ahead.
But leaving this workshop, Gabe, it'd be great if you had some decisions so that you're ready for the public hearing with the amended budget. Is that correct? We need to make some decisions.
If you all want any additional adjustments to the amendment that I prepared.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and move into the new position and reclassifications. So a few notes to first start us off just to set the scene for this. So estimated cost differences that are being shown. Oh, I will do my very best. I apologize. Hopefully it will. Okay, there we go. Is that better for everybody? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. So these estimated cost differences do not include a proposed mid-year cost of living adjustment. And again, largely that's because we are considering a number of different scenarios have been proposed. And so just to keep it simple, these are as our current grade and step chart is designed with no cost of living. Those are the estimated cost differences that are going to be presented in this. The new reclassification requests that were made at the mid-year point have not been reviewed by the Commission Administration's Office or the Personnel Services Department for recommendation. And so if the Commission deems that again, it's prudent, appropriate, feasible to move forward with any new position or reclassifications, then we can certainly put together a list of recommendations based on that. Unapproved new position and reclassification requests were brought back from the 2026 budget season, as had been discussed in budget season, with the exception of the Moab Office of Tourism requests. So again, with our new director in the Moab Office of Tourism, some of those departmental restructures, et cetera, have been handled separately. So those are excluded. So the one new position request that is being brought back is from the 2026 budget season. It was also presented during the 2020 budget season, and that is for a full-time OSTA maintenance technician. And the justification for this request has remained consistent, and that is that this is a 65-acre property, and that they're often covering a 7-day work schedule. The event schedule has continued to increase, more and more booked from year to year. On the note of overtime, with the increase in compensatory time maximum from 24 hours to 80 hours, overtime budget for OSTA has been much more managed, but it does mean that staff are having more compensatory time. They need to take more time away from the office, meaning that we continue to see a need for an additional full-time employee at the arena.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
And I also add in, I know you only have the one position right there. I'd like to add in another request for an economic development specialist at part-time without benefits.
Yeah, and I can work with the Commission Administration Office on the specifics of that. Thank you. And so for the cost estimate through the end of this current year, so again, if this was granted mid-year, the estimated cost difference would be $40,659. And as Commissioner Martinez spoke to, it's also important for us to look forward and ask the question, what does this impact in future years and full years? And so we did put together the 2027 estimates. And so the 2027 estimated cost total would be $96,430 for the addition of this full-time position. Moving into reclassification requests, I'll go through these one at a time. So the first reclassification request was for elected officials, and this is an item that we do feel is important for us to do as a county on an annual basis. So elected officials are, of course, different than our regular employees who have access to our pay for performance program, which includes milestone and exemplary increases. Milestones are tenure-based raises, and exemplary increases are performance-based raises. And so with that, it is important for us to continue to ensure that we are paying our electeds appropriate and market rate wages so that we continue to have really qualified, excellent folks being interested in serving our community in this capacity. So with that, we use the same methodology that has been used in previous years, which we look at the first class Utah counties, with the exception of Uinta County, because they went quite a few years without any increases, and looked at those counties' averages for each of the positions and compared them to ours. So if we were to adopt all of basically these average adjustments for our positions, and as you'll see, the elected positions that are left off include county attorney, sheriff, and commissioners. Those are because those positions are at or above the average of the other counties' compensation, and so it was appropriate to put them on the list in the 2026 budget season. But if all of these adjustments were adopted, it would for this year total $5,240, and for a full year it would be calculated to $12,570 in compensation assessment for electeds. This reclassification request is another one that has been brought back from the 2026 budget season. And this is to reclassify the part-time administrative assistant position at our airport to full-time. The justification for that is that billing has become much more complex. And as this team needs more assistance working through leases, et cetera, that moving the part-time to a full-time position would increase the capacity of the staff at Canyonlands Regional Airport. So for the cost difference through 2026, that's estimated to be $25,576. And the cost difference between for 2027 in its entirety would be $60,200. And largely, anytime we see a part-time to full-time reclassification, the vast majority of the cost difference is based on benefits.
What is the cost of that employee then in total?
The full cost of the employee?
Yeah.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but for the majority of our part-time positions in this range, I would estimate that right now it's about 35,000. So it would go from, so for their part-time 20 hours a week right now, I would estimate that it's 35 to 40. But I can get that exact number for you, certainly.
Thanks.
Okay. And if that is another number that the commission would like to see is current, if a position is currently filled, the current annual amount for a position, and then the adjustments, I can adjust that for our next meeting. Next request is a mid-year request, so it was not presented during the 2026 budget season, and that's because this was actually presented as a new position during the 2026 budget season and was approved by the commission. And that is for the victims advocate position in the Grand County Attorney's Office. So as you all likely remember, our MOU between Grand County and the City of Moab, it was expiring, and we do have an obligation to provide services. And so with that, we determined that it was most appropriate for us to move forward with hiring our own victim advocate under the Grand County Attorney's Office umbrella to serve Grand County Attorney's Office, Children's Justice Center, and the Grand County Sheriff's Office. So that part-time position was approved as of January 26th. And the reclassification request is for this position to be reclassified from part-time to full-time. So with that, the cost difference through 2026 would be $19,847, and the cost difference for full year, and that being 2027 is estimated to be 46,950.
And I've got a couple questions, the same one that Commissioner Martinez had last time. It'd be nice to know what that total is gonna be for the year. It'll help us with the 2027 budget. And then will this position be budgeted through 3 different departments, considering that they're sharing it? Or will this all be coming out of the attorney's budget?
And I can speak to that. Historically, the position was, we had an agreement between the city and the county, and we were all paying a portion of it. For whatever reason, at that time, we allocated funds from the CJC, the Sheriff's Department, and my office to pay the three different chunks of it to the city directly. Now it should be eliminated from the sheriff's budget, from the CJC budget, unless there's a benefit to be able to utilize some of the CJC funds. The victim advocate's certified to be able to work with children at this point. And we're also applying for grants. We haven't received those yet. They'll be submitted soon. If we do receive those grants, obviously we would reduce the cost to the county. But more than you asked for.
A little bit, but it was my understanding that part of the reason for this going from part-time to full-time was because of the need at the sheriff's department.
Correct. And what we've done is we've focused on the court element of it, which is one of the major obligations. Right now, the victim advocate is working Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are all court days. Alternating Mondays are bail hearings, Tuesday is the district court day, and Wednesday is the justice court day. We do provide services. The difficulty is there's just not enough time in the day to provide the services that we have in the 3 days that we have. We're utilizing, because we didn't hire until later in the year, we're utilizing as much as we can of that budget, but not to exceed the amount that would be the threshold for that would trigger benefits. And so we want to expand the amount of work that the victim advocate's doing, but we simply just don't have enough time to be able to address all of those things in the limited time that we have per week.
And all good information, but I guess I'm still not seeing it. If we were paying from 3 different departments to the city, why wouldn't we then continue to split that position into 3 different departments? Or the sheriff and the CJC won't be using that position. It's going to be fully under you.
They will be utilizing the position. I mean, it's ultimately coming out of the same source. The only nuance though is there are grant fundings that come into the CJC, and there may be some grants and funding that comes to the sheriff's office. That might be the only reason that we might want to put some of that expense in the CJC line item, but they have strict requirements for the CJC that they have to be working with the children. The victim advocate is here, and she had to take classes to be able to provide those services to the CJC folks. So if there's a way that we can structure it to utilize the most amount of grant funding that we possibly can, of course, we'd like to do that. And when we get closer to budgeting time, we'll be discussing with our partners on how to do that. And again, we are drafting a grant application as we speak, and I think that goes in the beginning of August.
And I wasn't trying to imply that I'm against this request. I'm just curious if it was divided between 3 previously. My question was, why wouldn't we be doing the same moving forward? So yes, Commissioner, you had a question.
Please keep me apprised of the grant application process.
We will.
I want to see if they go through.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Hadler.
Are we in danger of not meeting our obligations if we don't approve this position? Is it a situation where they're
So we do absolutely as much as we can. Sometimes we have short timelines for turnarounds. What we're doing is we're allocating the time Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because those are all court days. If there's a victim that needs assistance right now on like a Friday or on the weekend, what we'd hope to have the victim advocate be able to have calls. If there's a really, really serious incident, sorry, but like a serious rape or a murder or a stabbing or something that's very graphic, the goal would be to call myself, have me go out with the victim advocate on the scene. That's how the Moab PD does it. Do I think we're being deficient with our services that we're providing the victims? No. Do I think we could do better? Yes, of course. And so having an additional amount of time that the victim advocate is allowed to be able to be on the clock, that would be very helpful. Right now, we stay away from triggering the need for benefits, and we don't pay any overtime. But I don't think we're deficient.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You all, great conversation.
All right, excellent. This next reclassification request is another request that came in at the mid-year point. So this is the first time that the commission has seen it, and that is in the IT department. The request is to reclassify the GIS specialist to GIS administrator. Reclassifying this position from a grade 12 to a grade 13. The justification for this is that the GIS role at the county has expanded, providing services to other departments, for instance, working closely with the emergency management director, planning and zoning, et cetera. And with that expansion of responsibility, duties, et cetera, comes that the request for a 1 grade adjustment. The cost difference through 2026 would amount to $1,817, and the cost difference in 2027 would amount to $4,420. And this next reclassification request is within the Commission Administration Office, and it is for the Economic Development and Public Relations Coordinator. Reclassify this position to the Economic Development Director, going from a grade 11 to a grade 14 and going from hourly to exempt. And so with exempt, that adjustment would happen both because of the compensation increase as well as the increase in job duties, responsibilities. So it would be both that compensatory as well as essentially the type of job that it would become, and reclassification to exempt status would be most appropriate based on how we have our other positions classified. The justification for this is this position was established approximately 1 year ago, so in mid-2025. The position's workload and level of responsibility has surpassed what it was originally written for and designed for the job description. And with this position frequently requiring compensatory time and overtime, this reclassification would have a fairly net neutral budget adjustment with it. But with that being said, in terms of, because overtime is its own budget line item that is separate from salary and benefits, the total personnel cost difference with salary and benefits for the rest of this year would be $7,061, and then in 2027 is estimated to be $16,680.
And I think it goes without saying on all of them now moving forward, you'll have us what that total number would be for that position.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. This next reclassification request is in the Planning and Zoning Department, and the request is to reclassify the Planning and Zoning Director to the Community Development Director. The caveat with this is that this reclassification also would involve organizational restructure from having a separate Planning and Zoning Department and Building Department to combining these offices under one, which would then be renamed the Community Development Department. And the justification provided for this is, again, the consolidation of these two separate departments under one. And with this, with this restructure, subsequent increased staff levels, oversight responsibilities would include a wage increase, and that requested increase would be from a grade 20 to a grade 24. The cost difference through 2026 would amount to $7,828, and the cost difference for 2027 would amount to $18,500. This next reclassification request is also tied to a backfill request that is on the consent agenda for this evening. Currently in the Grand County Jail, we do have budgeted 2 part-time jail nurses. So for the Grand County Jail, we are required, we're mandated to provide medical services to housed inmates. Currently, part of how we meet this mandate is by having a part-time jail nurse on staff. Anytime our jail nurse is unavailable, then the way that we provide healthcare is through Moab Regional Hospital. So for transporting inmates to the local hospital, So for this request, it is to, instead of having the 2 part-time positions, to reclassify it into 1 full-time jail nurse position to have on staff with us 40 hours a week. The justification for this includes reduced liability, providing more educational opportunities for our staff.
Question,
Happy to
Yes,
answer any
sir.
questions.
isn't that, this is from mitigation funds? Is this, or is this from general funds?
So I did put it under general fund, but mitigation does go to the Grant County Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
So dependent on our mitigation amount, then it would. Thank you for.
No worries.
And my question would be if we have 2 part-times and we're going to 1 full-time, if those numbers are
Great.
2 part-time, we're only costing us 33,000.
So one of those part-time positions is actually vacant, and part of that is because it's been difficult to recruit for part-time. And so this does combine the 2 very part-time positions into 1 and that additional increase of. So yes, the shorter answer is yes, these numbers do reflect if we were to combine the total hours that we currently do have set aside and budgeted for our 2 part-time positions, although we only have the 1 currently occupied.
Okay. And another question would be then, do you see filling that position with the existing employee, that the same employee is gonna go from part-time to full-time? And I see the head in the
I
back
see
shaking.
Sam in the
so-
back, yeah.
You're welcome to join us on this.
I was like, join us on this issue, yeah.
You're welcome to come up if you'd like.
Yeah.
Sure. No, that's one of the reasons why it's on the back wheels, because our current registered nurse is found a different part-time job. So she is going to leave. She's gonna hang out for another month or so to help us with trying to find somebody else. But when I brought this to Tess, she said we had to put it on the backfill. My intentions though this year was to try and request or create a full-time position. So the idea was might as well just ask for a full-time position instead of trying to fill a part-time position, just to change it to a full-time position, maybe possibly this fall or winter. And then I lose that person, because that's what we've been running into is the people that are looking for part-time are happy where they're at, working at a hospital per se. So they don't want full-time. That's what I kind of ran into. So the idea would be to create a full-time position where I don't have to sit here like they're applying for a full-time position. I'm afraid that if we hire another person for a part-time position, they may like the job they have that they're already doing. So the idea is to create a full-time position that they're applying and they're gonna be here long term.
Then my one other question would be, oh, go ahead.
You're okay? You're answering all my.
So this is mandated position? Is this an?
Well, I mean, we're required to provide medical, right? The bare minimum to house state inmates. We're required, that's the part-time part, is we're required that minimum standard, which was what we had with our current nurse, which is like 3 times a week, a couple hours a day for that. That's the bare minimum. We've been trying to seek more because right now, like a lot of rural jails that don't have full-time medical, when I don't have the nurse available, we do pill pass, right? That puts in all the liability on my staff to do medication for the individuals that need the medication, which we're allowed to do. It's perfect, I've looked into it. It's perfectly legal. It's just, you're taking on a lot of liability. It's accounting for medical staff that hand out medication. My opinion, and I imagine in a lot of other opinions. And we really need full-time.
My question was just pointed as, was this an unfunded mandate from the state or something? Or my curiosity was, so.
So no, we're not, it's not mandated, I should say, other housing state entities. So, but yeah, we're required to provide medical state for the inmates in general. So it's either we have a nurse on staff or I have to take them to the hospital all the time. This is what we did before we had the part-time.
Thank you.
In general questions to you, this will give you the ability to, a full-time position gives you the ability to hire better, is in the end.
I would hope.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I would hope so.
Okay.
the intent is to have more longevity out of the position. So, because again, part-time,
I hate
as somebody makes more money
involving
over there
that.
full-time, losing time, they don't want to have a second job, so they end up dropping out. That's what happened in the last RN we had before that. It just they made more money at their current position, so they didn't need the part-time income anymore, and then they left. Then we were lucky enough to get the nurse that we currently have, but
Same situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, yes, you can move on. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you all very much. This is the last reclassification request that I have to present to you all today. And this is under Sand Flats Recreation Area. This is a request to reclassify one of their recreation technician positions to a lead recreation technician position. The lead recreation tech position did previously exist. They went away from it a number of years ago, but this reclass request would include the addition of some increased supervisory responsibilities, oversight duties, coordination of projects, etc. It would come with a 2-grade adjustment from a grade 7 to a grade 9. This position is seasonal. It would remain seasonal. It's simply that the job title and subsequent responsibilities would increase. And so that cost difference through 2026 is estimated to be $1,715, and through 2027 would be $8,100.
Same as last one. Is this directed at general fund or?
Sand Flats is an enterprise fund, they're fund seventy, so they're separate from us. And I have been working with Andrea Brand, Sand Flats director. She has confirmed that based on where they are revenue wise, they're under budget and over projection for revenue. So this is not a concern related to their budget for 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Trish. Oh, sorry, I thought you raised your hand. All right, do you have anything else?
That is all that I have for you all this evening, unless you have any questions for me.
Anybody questions for Tess? All right, with that, I will end this workshop at 5:02, and I'm going to recommend we take a 5-minute break and we will resume somewhere around 5:07 with the regular meeting.
We want to just go real quick and give the clerk.
Are you talking through this here or the?
Yeah, through this, we come back and shop or we couple minutes.
Yes, Trish,
I think Jacques was first.
it doesn't matter. Yes, Trish?
5 is citizens to be heard now, is that correct?
No, 6.
No,
Oh, I thought it was 5.
I thought it was 5. I looked.
It's 5.
at approximately 5 p.m.
Okay.
Okay, so
And-
approximate,
I'm good. I thought it was 6.
yeah, so
And I do think we should, I agree, Brian, I think it'd be great to come back and make some decisions so that these guys could.
Even if it's just a quick go around.
Absolutely.
I'm doing it right now and we can break afterwards and start our meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Can
so make sure that you
Did
get
we
the
have
minutes.
the one more, did we want to talk about?
One more,
That was the distributions based on the mitigation that we had discussed during budget season last year. There's entities, I think there's an email that went out earlier. Like the museum, solid waste, there's a few others, SSD, rec SSD, I'm sorry.
I'm open to discussing them if we want to.
Another option I was thinking is perhaps another hour workshop sometime next week. I know it's soon, but I think these are important issues and
That
I'd be
comes up from me.
happy to go that way than making quick decisions right now. Personally.
Yeah, sorry, Gabe.
Would that work for you, Gabe?
Yeah, that works for me. I think. So I created this sheet real quick that summarizes these budget allocation reductions that were made to outside entities, just to speak to what was referenced before. But I just want to remind the commission that we started the year with a budget, a budgeted draw from the fund balance of $345,000. I feel like this amendment firms up a lot of the expenses. And largely the revenue projections are our best guess. And I think that they're, pretty solid, but, currently we still have a draw from the fund balance to balance the budget. So I guess I would just say, as far as decision-making as we go going forward with the current position that we're at, it wouldn't, my office, I guess I'll just go out and say that my office wouldn't recommend adding any additional general fund expenses to this budget. Certainly you might, you might make an argument to enter in adjustments as you see fit. And certainly revenues after a few more months, we could continue to see strong revenues and that position could start becoming positive as it relates to that situation. But I guess we just have, I think any decision, right, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like most decisions, in a vacuum, would involve adding general fund expenses when our budget position is still in the red. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. Not saying that can't be made, but yeah.
My suggestion would be to the two entities, and I'm just throwing that out there, we can push this off to the third quarter. I do believe that they've received larger than 50%, talking about the museum and solid waste.
Few more, there's also rec SSD, I'm sorry, and
Right.
there's a list, there's, I think, 5%.
75%.
Yeah, so I would say that we postpone that decision of adding that money at this point, based off of what the clerk auditor is suggesting here. Trish, go ahead.
Do these entities know that they won't, if they're not getting their full allotment, have they been notified of that? So if they don't get their Q4 allotment, do they know that that's going to be the case?
Most of their liaisons are in the room with us, so they should.
I'm just making sure.
Well, I mean, if we'd like to have the clerk auditor or something,
Let's,
staff here can more than let them know, but I know the museum's present. I know Mary's with SSD,
I'm Rick.
rec.
So
Yes, go ahead, Mary.
I just want to say, so what you're suggesting is that we hold off on deciding whether or not we go to the 75%.
We are at 75.
So go to the 100%.
To go to the 100% and look at our,
100% after we see the next revenues from the TRT and
at the end of our third quarter.
with that.
That's at the end of September.
Yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Can I just make a suggestion that we just hold off on all the decision making just for a second? Let's set up a budget workshop sometime in the next week, because it appears that we have some deeper conversations that we need to have.
Agreed.
And let's just make sure that we have the time for that.
I would agree, Brian.
Oh. Do we want to look at schedules now?
Sure.
I'm even by the end of this week.
Is it, I'm gone this week, but is it Tuesday? Monday, Tuesday is always good for me.
24 hours.
Vice Chair, can I ask just a follow-up question?
Sure.
So it's my understanding that the payments that they've received, they received full payments for quarter one, quarter two, quarter three. When is the normal date that they would receive the quarter four payment?
I'm just getting quarter 3 payments now. So that would put us, like it would be September. But certainly, yeah, that's when those invoices would start rolling in. It was easy to hold them and not pay them, obviously, in lieu of pending decisions.
I've got time Thursday or Friday of this week.
Just as a shortcut, I already relayed to Rec SSD that August was the expected timeline on that, just to comparatively speaking to prior year.
Can I suggest 2 dates? Can we start with a
let's do
Monday or a Tuesday?
Yes, Monday or Tuesday. Monday's good for me.
I'm good Monday. Also, anytime after 10.
Chair?
Melody, what's your Monday look like?
I don't know. You guys need to use your microphone so I can hear you though, because I can't hear most of you.
Sorry, Melody. We're looking at setting up a budget workshop next week after, and the dates that Brian has proposed are either Monday or Tuesday. And it looks like most of us can attend on Monday if that works for you.
What time are we talking about?
I can do Monday after 2 o'clock.
I think that works for most of us. Does that, anybody have a problem with that time?
Helps me.
Does that work for you, Gabe?
gonna be traveling, but I can definitely call in.
Okay,
I think so.
okay.
Most likely.
So do we want to set Monday at 2 o'clock? Okay.
27th.
All right, with you guys? Yeah, thank you.
So, and the goal in that workshop will be to look closer at each. I'm sorry, Melody, here I'm leaning back. I'm sure you couldn't hear me. So the goal for that workshop would be to go through each of the requested classifications and added positions and determine whether or not that is something we feel we can afford, and to look at COLAs. Is that what our goal is going to be? What's the goal? I want to know what the goal is.
Mr. Martinez.
I think the Commissioner McGann, our goal is to go through these and make sure that we provide the clerk auditor with clarification so that he can present us a budget for the public hearing that following meeting.
So
I
we'll be
think-
looking at, the positions, and we'll be looking
And the contributions,
at
mitigation contribution.
Look at the three, we can give thumbs up, thumbs down, and
Yeah,
go from there.
sounds great.
You're good with that.
All right, we're all good? Okay, once again, I will close this meeting at 5:11, the workshop, and we will be back here in 5 minutes to proceed with the regular meeting.
Thank you for the break.
Okay, with that, I will start the regular commission meeting tonight at 5:17. Those present are the same that were here for the workshop, minus the clerk auditor, it looks like. And so we will start off with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will start off with our public comment period, and I will ask for folks to come up. Please introduce yourself. And we have a timer that will be set. You'll be able to see when it starts flashing. You'll know that your time is getting close to up, and then I think it goes red when it's final. And please, as always, let's keep a level of decorum as we proceed with these meetings. And so let's begin. Who would like to come up first? Yes, please.
Paul O'Brien, Castle Valley, it'll be short and sweet, of course. I just want to be sure that it's understood that the water and preservation element may include a variety of topics that concern water besides the topic of water demand. I will provide a few quotes from the state code that required counties to add this element to their general plans. That state code is 79-403, and I'm going to read from section 3. The proposed general plan may include, this is out of the plan that did the element, an environmental element that addresses, to the extent not covered by the county's resource management plan, the protection and conservation. And then it lists a lot of things like air, forest, but I'm interested in groundwater and other waters. It goes on to in another section, but still section 3 under II, the regulations of the land use on hillsides, streams, channels, and environmentally sensitive areas, another place that you can actually apply this. In D, the preservation and enhancement of watersheds and wetlands. I would say it allows you to protect our 2 sole source aquifers and any other element that the county considers appropriate. So whatever you decide to do with regard to changes in the proposed water use and preservation element, it is likely to be explicitly included in the proposed general plan may include, according to the state code 17-79-403. I want to thank you for allowing us to speak.
Thank you. Next. Yes, ma'am. Then we'll go with you, Mr. Gross.
Good evening. I'm Dale Weiss with the Groundwater and Sewer Service Agency. I'm speaking on behalf of the Groundwater and Sewer Service Agency today. Recent public comments have raised questions about WISA's expertise, governance, and the decisions we make regarding our community's water resources. Rather than respond to individual criticisms, I would like to provide some important context. Groundwater and Sewer Service Agency was created by Grand County to serve as a steward of our local water resources. Our board is not self-appointed. It is made up of representatives from 3 public entities whose members are elected, appointed by the Grand County Commission, appointed by the City of Moab, or appointed by the Governor of Utah through established public processes. This structure was intentionally designed to bring together the region's water expertise under one governing body. Collectively, our board and staff represent decades of experience in water rights, engineering, utility operations, infrastructure planning, conservation, public administration, and regulatory compliance. More importantly, WISA itself has more than a century of accumulated operational experience in water management. every decision we make is guided by public stewardship, regulatory compliance, and the long-term sustainability of our water supplies. Our policies are based on facts, operational data, engineering analysis, and the requirements established by our board, the state of Utah, and federal regulatory agencies. We continuously monitor our groundwater wells, aquifers, storage reservoirs, and water demand. We review scientific research and planning documents, but we also rely on decades of local data and operational experience. That information guides our actions. When conditions require it, we act. This year, we implemented water restrictions because of drought conditions for surface water. We have adopted tiered water rates to encourage conservation. At the same time, we continue evaluating long-term projects that will strengthen our region's water future, including responsible development of our existing unutilized water rights. Healthy public discussion is important, and differing opinions are a valuable, good part of good government. But water policy should be grounded in sound science, reliable data, and the experience of those who have been entrusted by the public to manage these critical resources. WISA remains committed to working collaboratively with Grant County, the City of Moab, our partner agencies, and the public to ensure a reliable and sustainable water future for generations to come. Thank you. I'm going to hand a letter to someone that is written by Groundwater and Sewer Administrator. And I have Ben Messelman here if you have any questions for us regarding water.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Gross.
Thank you. My name is Pete Gross. Been a resident of Moab for a little over a third of a century. I was about 3:30 on the clock. I thought, oh, I better hurry and get here because Citizens Be Heard starts at 4 o'clock. And it was only a friend of mine happened to say, oh, it's at 5 o'clock now, and that's an approximate time. Some of us are starting to wonder if this is really Citizens Be Ignored. You know, it seems like I've been involved in, you know, just political feedback for about a half century. And most elected officials that I've worked with welcome feedback from their constituents. They're happy to hear from them. So I'm a little bit disappointed to find that, you know, it seems like we're making it harder for citizens to be heard. Okay, on another topic, the water element, climate change needs to be taken into account. As we know, if you look at the climate models, Colorado Plateau is a high impact area. We have an uncertain water supply, and so we should be monitoring that very carefully, especially when it comes to approving upzones where you increase the density, because we might not have enough water to serve the people who already live here. Another thing regarding high impact events, when I first moved here 35 years ago, I remember Fat Tire Festival was a major event, brought like 2,000 to 3,000 mountain bikers, and other similar events, the Canyonlands Half Marathon brings almost 5,000 runners, Moab Trail Marathon and others, about 2,000 runners, Dead Horse Ultra, 1,500 participants, Arches Ultra, etc. Moab Run the Rocks, 500 to 600, Moab Skinny Tire Festival, 500 to 600, the Grand Fonda, 300 to 500. A lot of those, you scarcely would know they're even occurring if you didn't happen to be aware of what's going on. Whereas when you have a fraction of that number, like compared to the half marathon of 5,000 runners, you have, say, 300 motorized recreationists. You hear it all over town oftentimes. So anyway, I would just like to contrast, going also to the Gardner Institute study, which you guys funded, which I thought was probably ill-advised. At the very least, it could have expanded issues to concern itself. If you really want to optimize tourism, there's a branch of applied math called operations research, deals with optimization. And the Ken C. Gardner Institute, at least the last time I looked, even had a person who's an expert in operations research on their staff. I would be surprised if they hadn't advised you should at least consider some other options. And I think you might find that, you know, you were a little bit remiss in having such a narrow focus. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Yes, please, ma'am.
Rebecca O'Brien from Castle Bell. Almost every comment submitted in person or digitally to the planning commission. During the months, the commission toggled between a 12-page draft, an 81-page draft, a 31-page draft. Every comment urged the commission to consider the county's current and future supply of water under climate change, and or the need to change what is conditionally allowed in the watersheds of our only 2 drinking water sources. A letter came from the Colorado River Keeper, and I'd love to see a debate between him and any of you who really think we're going to get water for irrigation from the Colorado River. Another letter came with extensive science references linked for downloading. The Planning Commission made no response to any of these comments. The word climate appears 3 times in the draft water use element. All 3 times it is hyphenated for climate adapted plants or climate adapted landscaping. Climate adapted? What climate? Is there really a climate that needs to be adapted to? You on the county commission have similarly received extensive science information and links to actual documents. You have received comments from county residents, the constituents you supposedly serve, urging consideration of the impacts of climate change on our drinking water aquifers, our irrigation water aquifer, and on the Colorado River. Fortunately, Commissioner McCandless has assured Commissioner Hedin that each of the 4 proposed general plan amendments, which you have been provided last week by Trish, which are based on consideration of climate, will be discussed and voted upon by the commission tonight. Any or all of the 4 amendments can be added to the element tonight. They are allowed under the state law mandating the element. Their addition would not further delay passage of the element, which meets the state mandate for consideration of per capita water use reduction. None of the amendments require going further over budget. I hope the commission doesn't choose by 4-3 to dismiss all the county residents' calls for consideration of climate science and the realities of wet water. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody online, Quinn. You out there? All right, anybody else? Yes, sir, Mr. Johnston. And then I'll get to you, ma'am, next.
Every time I come here, Dwight Johnston, every time I come here, people are complaining and complaining about the job you're doing, so I'd like to congratulate you. I think you guys have made an awfully wonderful impact on Moab, and I'm grateful for it. So I just heard today TRCN comes up. That's a real good sign, and the money's being spent right for a change. It's really rewarding to see the increase in tourism, because every business up and down this town, relies on it. So we're just grateful. I also think you've done a great job with handling the impact at Arches, solving that problem without chasing people away. I think that's a wonderful move. And I also think that you've solved the low-income housing crisis. The stuff that's under construction right now, when it's finished, I think we'll be able to quit complaining about the lack of low-income housing. There's going to be plenty of it. So, especially for you 4 members, I want to thank you, congratulate you for a job well done, and encourage you. Please just keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, next.
My name is Steven Stocks. I'm the Grand County Attorney, and this is Kylie Hostetter. She's going to give a statement. I'm going to pass something out while she's doing that.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing this opportunity to present and consider this request. Again, my name is Kylie Hostetter, and I serve as the victim advocate with the Grand County Attorney's Office. Today, I am asking for your support in approving a full-time budget for this position. As domestic violence cases continue to require a coordinated, victim-centered response, this investment would allow us to meet that need with greater consistency, collaboration, and care. This request is about more than increasing hours. It is about increasing our ability to respond to some of the most vulnerable members of our community during the most difficult moments of their lives. As a part-time advocate, my work is largely limited to cases that have already reached the county attorney's office. However, many victims need support long before a case is prosecuted. With a full-time position, I would be able to respond alongside the sheriff's office during acute domestic violence incidents, helping reduce immediate trauma, provide safety planning, and connect victims with critical resources when they need them the most. I would also be able to support victims whose cases never make it to prosecution. Often, law enforcement responds to reports of abuse, but there isn't enough evidence to make an arrest. Those cases may remain under investigation while evidence is gathered. During that time, victims are often left to navigate fear, uncertainty, and isolation on their own. It may be a mother trying to safely leave her abuser with her children, or a man struggling to make someone believe that he is being abused, manipulated, and made afraid to leave. Regardless of where a case ends up, every victim deserves support, advocacy, and connection. Expanding this position to full-time would allow me to bridge the gap between law enforcement's initial response and the legal process, while strengthening collaboration between the county attorney's office, the sheriff's office, law enforcement, healthcare providers, local nonprofits, and other community partners. With the time to build and maintain those partnerships, we can create a smoother, more coordinated, and more efficient response system. One that connects victims to the right support at the right time, instead of asking them to navigate a complex network of services on their own. The value of this position isn't measured only by the cases we prosecute, it's measured by the people we help find safety, stability, and hope before they ever walk into a courtroom. Thank you for your consideration and for your continued commitment to the safety and well-being of the people of Grand County.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before you commissioners, you have packets. These are the victim packets that are received. You can look through them tonight's evening or at tonight's meeting, and then I'll collect them at the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to leave one here for Melody when she returns, if that's possible.
Okay, Trish, go.
All right, who would like to come up next? All right, please do, Mr. Clyde.
My name is Kevin Clyde. I would like to express my appreciation for the county commission's the importance they place upon the institutions that have been established here in Grand County. Particularly, I'm talking about the water stewards, which would be the Grand Water and Sewer Agency, Grand County Water Conservation District. I've been listening to planning commission meetings. I've also been in the water district meetings when these topics that have been mentioned tonight have been discussed. I think they've been discussed broadly and widely and thoroughly. I recognize that some of the ideas that members of the public want to have more emphasis placed on them haven't been really considered greatly because institutions of this county have been thinking about those things and placing them in their versions of the water bill and in the planning documents that are regularly produced. But anyway, I want to thank you for doing that. I think it's a very important part of what the county commission does, and encourage you to use that consideration in your decisions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And when I'm told that by Dana that there is somebody online.
It was AJ, but I don't see him.
Okay. All right, yes, Susie, please come up.
Hello, I'm Susie Johnston, and I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper in one of the things that you guys have done that's huge, and you probably don't even think about it anymore. But when we moved back here, everybody was clamoring for housing. There were employees living in their cars and vans in tents. I mean, you can imagine how fun that would be in the heat of the summer with no water, no toilets, and no bath. The no bath part was what got me. But anyway, now there's down, I guess it's not down from us, it's north of us, across from the university, there's a new housing going in. I just want to pat you on the back. I mean, that happened fast, and there was a long time here we were clamoring for housing and none happened, none. And so I thank you guys for that. And I know that these employees, the kids that have a nice place to live now, a decent place to live too. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right, do we have anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm Shane Firestack, Grand County. I'd like to thank the members of the commission for the hard work that you do. It's often a difficult scenario when you're continuously met with challenges and disagreements. I'd like to thank you for the time that you spend doing this, the amount of time that you've taken away from your families and your jobs and everything else. It's a very difficult scenario. And I'd just like to thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? And still nobody online, Quinn?
We have some people online, but they're here for a later item.
Okay, well, with that, we will move on to our next item, and we have a public hearing at 6, but we're going to skip that until 6 o'clock arrives. And that will bring us to our general business action items, discussions, and considerations of approval. We will start with mission member disclosures and further future considerations.
Mission member disclosure, my wife works for the sheriff's department.
All right, anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Hadeen.
Future considerations, I want to continue to inspire an evaluation of county admin. And my understanding is that would be led by Melody, Jacques, and Mike. And then secondly, I do want us to start looking closely at grandma policies and procedures. I think that the clerk auditor is doing a really good job in trying to get those and process them, but it's fallen apart at a certain point. And so I think it is something that we need to visit as a county. How do we get those grandma requests fulfilled effectively or efficiently and effectively? I know that I have one constituent that's been reaching out for, I don't know, 6 months maybe, still doesn't have her grandma request. So I think that, as a county, it's something that we need to look at.
All right, anyone else? Okay, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda, and the clerk auditor let me know that there were no minutes loaded. So we will skip over that one and move on to the ratification of payment of bills. The total bills were $1,884,605.36, with a total payroll of $572,876.64, with a grand total bills and payroll of $2,457,482. And moving on, we will see ratification of match letter for the FEMA FMA flood mitigation assistance, 10% county match letter for grant application. E, ratification of the chair's signature on the sidewalk plans for the East Holyoke Lane project. E, ratification of Utah wildfire resource MOU between Utah Division of Forestry, Fire and State Lands and Grand County Emergency Management. F, ratification of Google advertiser verification for Discover Moab. G, letter of support to BLM for Colorado River Trail National Recreation Trail designation. H, letter supporting NICA's request for additional parking at Brands Trail to BLM. I, grant award contract motorized trail maintenance initiative. J, grant award contract non-motorized trail optimization for Class 1 EMTB. K, contract amendment for master services agreement between Karstegen Madden, which is formerly Madden Media, and Grand County Moab Office of Tourism. And L, Children's Justice Center contract amendment renewal. M, approval of IPAWS and emergency alerts addendum to emergency management regional mutual aid agreement. N, USGS salinity study amendment to contract. O, GCSO position backfill requests. And, yes, Commissioner Martinez.
Just real quick, question, should we move the GCSO position backfill off of the consent agenda as it's one of the items that we're going to be discussing in the budget, or is it best that we allow that to stay?
If I remember correctly, that's people that left the county that we're just replacing them.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Is that correct, Mark?
Yes, that's what I reminded.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah.
They're just replacing hire people that have already quit, that are quitting and that we need to replace.
Okay, yes, Commissioner McCurdy.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner McCurdy, second by Commissioner Hadler. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes 6 with 1 absent, Commissioner Hadid, 6-0, I guess. All right, we will move on to special events. And I thought I saw Jenbeth online. Did we lose her?
No, she's there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are now. Thank you.
Hello. How is everybody today?
Great. Thank you for being with us, even though you're gone.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Jenny Beth Jones. I am the special events person here at the county. We do have 4 events that are looking to be approved. The first one is taking place in November, so a winter event. It is a brand new motorized event. It's an off-road rally that will invite all motorized vehicle type owners and operate as a nonprofit with net proceeds being donated to 501c3 organizations to promote responsible use of our public lands. It is put on by the Utah Public Lands Alliance. It is November 12th through the 14th, and they will be utilizing OSTA. The next 3 events are all recurring events, and they're all from the same sponsor. We have Moab Run the Rocks, which is March 5th through the 7th of 2027. We're looking at about 800 participants, and it's recurring for the past 5 years. It's a 3-day running event taking place on several trails. This event brings an average of 600 people into town along with their friends and families. In April of 27, we have the Desert Gravel event, also sponsored by Trans Rockies. It is a cycling event. We're looking at about 1,500 participants. It is also recurring for the last 5 years. and it is a gravel bike race that begins and ends in Fruta. However, it does cross over into the border of Grand County partly. And then in May, we have another cycling event for Trans Rockies. We're looking at about 800 participants. This one has been recurring for 13 years. And it is a weekend of biking featuring a 3-day mountain biking event, a single-day road event, and a single-day gravel event. And that is what I've got for you today.
All right, thank you, Jenna Beth. Commissioner McCurdy.
A motion and a question for Jacques, actually. I'd like to make the motion. I move to approve the high impact event submissions as presented. And if there's a second for that, but I also have a comment.
Okay, motion by Commissioner McCurdy, second
I'll
by
second.
Commissioner Martinez. And then the question being?
Have you participated in the gravel one?
Yes, and all, actually, all of those events.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't personally participate in the gravel, but these events hire the mega team.
Yeah.
And contribute significantly to our fundraising efforts. They give our kids an opportunity to volunteer, and they pay us well for them to help facilitate like crowd control and directions for the riders and such. And then I've ridden in the other events.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, it's good to hear. It's good to hear local participation from our bike team. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Hadeen.
Jenny Beth, I have a question for you. So my understanding of special events in the application process is we should have seen the ITA for this Off-Road America in January of 2026. Is that for Q3 events? We're supposed to see them in the first meeting in January. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, I didn't receive the ITA in time for that one,
So
that
why are we
meeting.
Was it in the second meeting then? Did I miss it? I tried to find the
No.
ITA and I never found it.
I apologize. I don't know when they submitted it, but I can get you that information when I'm back in the office.
I
just figured I'd present it to you.
Okay, I am uncomfortable approving this because I think we should have seen it at the appropriate time frame. And when I went back to that meeting, we approved, this was January 20th, we approved Building Man, Red Rock Rally, Raptor on the Rocks, and the Grenadier event. And I will state that 75% of those events were motorized. So I'll get into that, but I'm uncomfortable approving this event if it is not following our special events procedures.
Noted. Thank you.
Commissioner McCurdy.
In the discussion, I understand why your thoughts there, but you have concerns if they come too early, and you have concerns if they come too late, and there's concerns when they come on time, but it's specifically to motorized events. Every one of those questions has been directed at motorized events.
Can you give me examples of that, Mike?
Red Rock Rally.
We passed Red Rock Rally.
They're coming too early. That was your discussion. I mean, I can pull the minutes from the meeting.
Do that.
I think your point's made, Mike. Commissioner McCandless.
So in the special events ordinance, it allows them, I think, 60 days. So that doesn't have to come before us at specific times. It's just that if their application is in within that time frame, that they can be in there, but they can also apply, I believe it's 60 days. I will find it. I'm gonna look for it. So they're definitely well within their application, and they're not breaking any rules by putting it in for approval right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
The new ordinance doesn't specify that it needs to be in like the quarterly anymore. It's just when they apply. I think you're right, Mel.
Okay, I think Mary had her hand up, Brian, and then Jacques.
I think Mary Beth answered my question. Cause I was confused about that as well, because I remember one reason we wanted to do that in advance was because so often things, the way things were piling up and all of a sudden coming to us at last minute. And, so I was remembering the ordinance prior to, I guess, update or a change. I want to mention, I think some of us were not opposed to the Red Rock Rally. We were concerned about it being on the same weekend as the car show.
Hey, Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah, thanks. Just kind of drawing this back, I mean, total tax revenue collections year to date are up $8 million, right? That's $1.6 million over projections, right? Total tax revenue came in at 212,000 over projections for June alone, right? We're up 35% on our collections of TRTs. And I really think that a good portion of that is because we welcomed people back here, everybody back here to come here and recreate. And we're willing to share our home with other people and have them come. I'm completely in support of all of these events, whether it's a running event, a biking event, or an off-road event. I think this is a great opportunity to invite more people to our place and allow our community to keep thriving. So.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Hadler.
I'm going to make a substitute motion to approve the last three events and talk about the off-road event separately. And then if I get a second on that, I'd like to continue the discussion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Can
I call that out?
Yes, please.
Thank you. We've got a substitute motion made by Commissioner Hadler and seconded by Commissioner Hadeen with further discussion by Commissioner Hadler.
Thanks, Bo.
So, I just wanted to make sure I understand the motion is what we're doing is voting for those now.
Yeah.
So they don't get mixed up with this, and then have a discussion on the what is it called? What's the name of it?
The motorized.
The off-road American Moab Rendezvous.
Yeah, and the reason I want to do that, I think the Trans Rockies that puts on the other three events has a long established relationship with the county. They've done a great job. They've been good stewards, and this is a brand new motorized event. I'd like to consider it separately. I've personally had a few bad experiences with motorized events this year, and I'm happy to discuss that further, but I would, before that, I'd love to call for a vote on my motion.
All right, we'll go for a vote on the substitute motion by Commissioner Hadler, seconded by Commissioner Hadeen, which was a motion to approve the three events that were non-motorized, correct?
That's correct, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of the substitute motion? Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, substitute fails, and we will go back to the original motion with some discussion. I believe Commissioner Hadler wanted to start, and then I will go to Commissioner McGann.
Yeah, I'm
Chair, did you want to read out the result of the vote?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, sorry, the substitute motion failed on a vote of 3 in favor, 4 opposed. Those opposed were Commissioner.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner McCurdy, myself, Commissioner Winfield, and Commissioner McCandless online. Thank you, Jacques.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear that I very much support those other three Trans Rockies events. I won't be voting for this. Again, I've had, and I'm not going to go into details, but I've had poor experiences with 2 separate motorized events just this year. I was not in favor of the Red Rock Rally moving into the busy season this year, and I heard from many people that they were impacted by that event. I see this as something similar, and it's not something that I currently support.
I'll leave it at that.
Next.
Commissioner McGann's next, and then I'll go to Commissioner Green.
I appreciate that event is on, in November. I think that's a good time for it. I mean, that's not a real busy time like it was when we, right on top of the car show, which I do think we should reconsider for next year. But on the application, I guess what I wanted was when I know it was Kent Green that came and gave this really great presentation on what they were going to do to mitigate ever and how they, and then there was going to be a process for us to really make sure that it didn't negatively impact the community. And I guess I missed that on this one, that I felt like, because it's one reason we're not hearing the clamor anymore is because we've done a good job of, it's not the issue it quite was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when motorized, many people we were getting hundreds and hundreds of letters from across a political spectrum concerned about the noise, especially in town. So I guess what bothers me about this is we're not getting any of that type of information for a brand new high impact event. And the high impact events are high impact, and that's why we vote on them separately. And I guess I would have appreciated the same type of presentation that was presented to us for before the first year that they had the Red Rock Rally.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Commissioner Hadeen and then Commissioner McCurdy, Commissioner Martinez, and then I will follow up.
I'm on mine too.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand, but now you're on the screen. All right, I'll go to you following Commissioner Martinez.
I think over the, is it my turn?
It is your turn.
I think over the years, we keep modifying special events in the process. I'm trying to come up with a process that is, as via our website, we really want to provide, we put sporting, cultural, entertainment, and competitive events and maintain the health and welfare of our community. And I think we were kind of at a spot at one point because we were trying to look at holistically, like, are we having a variety of events? Are they not laying over the top of one another? And I feel like we're getting away from that. I do feel like we're getting back to where large events, and this one is not the case, but we did have Red Rock Rally laying over the top of car show. And I don't think we're getting, the diversity of events that we were seeking. Again, I'll pull up that, when I looked up the January 1st ITAs, 3 out of the 4 were motorized. I'm not anti-motorized. I just think, the objective should be to have a variety of events that are seeking to pull in a variety of users. I agree. I think that having Kent affiliated with Red Rock has helped a lot because we have that local affiliation. He obviously was born and raised here and he cares very much for this community. So he's going to make sure that that event is not impacting this community. And so I agree, Mary, I think I would have liked to have seen these event holders come and present to us and assure us that it's not going to impact our community. This is an event holder out of St. George. And so, that's kind of
Event holders are online, just to.
Yeah, and once we get through a few more discussions here from commissioners, I'll let the event owners speak up.
Yeah, they could answer.
So it was Commissioner McCurdy and then Commissioner Martinez and then Commissioner McCandless.
Everyone heard, we're up. It's because we're starting to allow the events back in. They're a big provider for our economy here. You're not hearing the clamor from so many people about the past events because you can't cancel them all. There's no clamor when you deleted all the motorized events. And now that they're coming back and they're trying again, they're not deterring other events from going on. It's not like authorizing this event tells I'll use the powwow. It doesn't tell the powwow that no, you can't happen. having a motorized event doesn't drop from diversity. Allowing the motorized event and another event to happen at the same time allows for diversity.
Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clear up a couple of things, Commissioner McGann, you might have missed this right here. But we will also involve a local charity, most likely Grand County Search and Rescue, as a beneficiary of the event. And this is right here under the event descriptions right here. And at the end right there, it also says we will endeavor to use local vendors for this event. Education is the key to promotion of responsible recreation. Teach how to work with land managers and local government agencies to foster relationships and address community concerns. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And then also just wanted to just quickly address the idea of the events and that we're keying into certain events and these larger events. The Moab Office of Tourism has gone out and specifically offered funds to help bring in new events, different events, more variety events. I mean, I don't have the exact list of all of the things, but we were trying to bring things that came in on the off season, right? And things that we don't see here that would add to the local character of the community. So I don't know if I completely agree with either of those statements. So I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Commissioner McCandless.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out what Brian had said, and that also they spoke about not just focusing on trail activities, but also education and trail maintenance projects in cooperation with the county and land managers. So I mean, I see there's lots of great stewardship happening with this. And then I did find the spot in the high impact events that intent to apply must be submitted at least 6 months, but no more than 18 months prior. And this event came in, the last edited date says May 12th, which is exactly 6 months prior to the event. So they're right in line with what they're supposed to be doing.
Thank you. And then you have the events on, who is it that's online?
They said the event holders. I just had one question for him.
Yeah, Lauren Campbell is the event holder, and I do see him online. Maybe he could unmute and come up if he's listening and he wants to.
Lauren, you're welcome to speak here about your event, and then I do have one commissioner with a question. We can't hear you. You're going to have to unmute, Lauren. You still have your mute button on. There you go.
There we go. All right, thank you. I am the president of Utah Public Lands Alliance, and I was at the Moab Red Rock Rally this year. I've known Kent Green for quite a long time, and you're right in respecting him. He really does value the community. I've also grown to know Mark Pat very well. They have both committed, along with Slick Rock. They have all committed to what we're planning on doing with this event, and they are fully behind it. They said they would support us in every way to make sure that it's successful. I appreciate what you mentioned about the education event, because we intend to have a fun event where we go out and enjoy the trails responsibly, but we also want to have educational processes during trail lunches on the trail. And then in the evenings, we want to come back to the arena and have different vendors talk about different subjects that are of interest to off-roaders. And our intent this first year is to include full-size 4x4 operators and side-by-side ATV operators. For the first year, we have chosen not to bring in dirt bikes because it just increases the complexity of planning the event, and we want to make sure that we've got it successful. We chose the date very carefully to make sure that this did not overlap with any other events. So the month of November, there are virtually no events, no off-road events from the middle of October all the way till the first of the year when Winter 4x4 Jamboree kicks off in St. George. So Utah Public Lands Alliance is a statewide organization. We have 2 members there in Moab, Melissa Fisher and also Cliff Kuntz, who I think you probably know both of them. They have been on our board for a number of years. We're committed to making the event successful, and we don't want this just to be a one-time. We want this to be uh, a succession of events like this because we want to bring education and stewardship more into the event mix. I guess last thing is it is going to be a charitable event. The event promoter or organizer has agreed to not charge any fees to produce this event. They are going to do it free of charge, and it's basically going to be done all by volunteers. So I'd be glad to answer any questions. Bruce Huntington is also on the call, and he's been coming to Moab for events for many, many years and has a long time relationship with Angie at the OSTA. So I think that's pretty much my pitch. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Okay, I've got Commissioner McGann with a question, and then we'll go to Commissioner Hadeen.
One thing that Kent did that I really appreciated is he talked a lot about, because probably I don't think people are so much upset about the motorized events and such. They're more upset about the noise they make when they're driving through town. So do you have any plans as far as how are you going to get to the trails? What are your plans to get to the trails to lower the impact on neighborhoods? And how the education around respecting residential areas.
Great, and I think that's one thing that I know is very important with stewardship. It's not just stewardship on the trails, it's stewardship in your host communities as well. So that is going to be an important thing. And our plan for getting to the trails is the same one that Red Rock Rally uses. So we will meet at remote locations. We won't be lining up at OSTA. We won't be lining up at the arena. We'll be having our staging areas at remote locations. So people will go individually. They won't be parading through town in groups. Does that answer your question?
Pretty much, yes, I think so, because that's everybody's concern is their ability.
Yeah, we think Red Rock Rally did a great job at that because we know that's been a concern, and we plan on just following their path.
The year they had it, the first year they had it where they didn't have it on the same weekend as the car show. I didn't hear hardly any complaints. But I think just the impact of having so many people in town at the same time caused it. So thank you for answering my question.
Commissioner Hadeen.
I guess I'm gonna dive into that just a little bit more. I think I'm the only commissioner that lives that far out in the valley. I know Mike's got a little, but you're in Holyoke, so I'm pretty much the only commissioner that lives out in the valley. And often with those events, when you say remote locations, they're still driving out of Osta. So I will tell you, the south end of Spanish Valley is quite loud during these events often. So what can you break that down a little bit more? Like, are they going to be at Osta and then driving to those remote locations? Are you encouraging trailering? Because I know with Kent, he really encouraged trailering.
We're going to have, first of all, this is going to be both full-size vehicles, so street legal vehicles. So those vehicles don't produce any noise. So that's going to be we expect about half of our attendance will be full-size vehicles. The other half of them will be side-by-sides. And quite frankly, we haven't talked about that, but we could adopt the same trailering recommendations, maybe requirements. I think at this point, I would prefer to say recommendations to a trailer to the trailheads, but we'd probably use the staging areas, the same ones that they use for Red Rock Rally.
Thank you.
And sorry, I had one more question for him. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
So Lauren, you said you want to make it charitable, but then you're not going to charge fees. So I guess to me, charitable means you're going to take proceeds and then disseminate them to some nonprofit. So I guess I was a little unclear there.
Yeah, the organizer, the person that's going to actually be producing the event, they'll be responsible for the day-to-day operations, will be Off-Road 360. And Ranch Pratt is on the call as well. He's the president of Off-Road 360. And they normally produce these events for a fee. It's a for-profit company, but they are not charging any events for the for those services. So the only fees that we will incur will be, you know, the arena fees, all the food costs, all the catering costs, all those incidental costs that we're trying to get a handle on right now. And then the net proceeds will be distributed as charitable donations. Utah Public Lands Alliance is a 501c3, but our intent also is to not retain any of the funds. So we will also not be participating in retaining any of the funds from the event. They will all be donated out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just gonna follow up and then I'm gonna call for a vote on this. You know, I want to bring this back to the fact that we're trying to balance the impact on our local citizens against the impact of blocking all events on our workforce and our businesses. And both of those have to be considered in an equation here when we're working in this county. We have a huge workforce that depends on the only economy that we have because we haven't been able to diversify away from tourism. And so I just think that we're at a point where we have to balance that. And I think there's a good balance here. This is coming in November. It isn't stacked on top of any other event. And you know, I want to go back to the, you know, Jacques, I know you said you've had some bad experiences, but I've gone to every motorized event that's been in town, not because I participate, because I don't, but because I want to watch and I want to see how they're treating the property at the Osta, and I want to see how they act around town. And so I've been more aware and I've attended those events and showed up at different spots, and I have yet to see an incident anywhere. I was very appreciative of the Red Rock Rally and the extra effort that they went to. And I think that we've got to call out the positives if we're going to call out the negatives. So I think that we need to thank the consideration they're putting into this. I think that we need to realize that it is a balance on both our constituents and our workforce and businesses when we make these decisions. And again, just thank you for the considerations you have. And I really encourage you to, on the education portion of that, because it is critical for our future events in this valley. And when we have negative impacts from individuals, single individuals, because of the lack of education, I think that's really what's hurt this industry more than anything. So with that, I'll call for a vote on this. The original motion was made by Commissioner McCurdy, seconded by Commissioner Martinez. And I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-2 with Commissioner Hedin and Commissioner Hadler opposed. And with that, we will go back to our public meeting that was supposed to happen at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Annabelle. Thank you for coming with us.
Of course.
Let's see, we have an ordinance amending ordinance 725 dealing with the major utility overlay. Yes.
That's been held.
What's that?
It's on hold.
Oh, that's on hold?
Yeah.
What's on hold?
The public hearing, still proceed with the public hearing.
So,
What's on hold?
so there's a requirement that this item will have to go to the planning commission. At this time, we can either have comments from the public, but it's going to be redone. I know there's likely individuals here that are here to talk about it. So that is an option. We can see that feedback, but it will have to go back through the planning commission, and there will have to be a public hearing as well.
Okay, my loss. You guys tried to tell me that earlier and I totally spaced it out. So we're here just for any public comments on this item. You have questions?
I know there was some concern from the city that this semi's timely.
Correct. My understanding is the planning commission is going to, they're in discussions, talking on August 3rd to set a special meeting, to be able to get that. Set, so that it meets the
It's
timeline.
not gonna hurt the timeline. We'll be able to get it.
That's my understanding is they're trying to meet as quickly as possible to get that.
Yes, Commissioner Hadeen.
I think it's imperative that this get done. I know that the city has a very strict timeline. The mayor called me right before I walked in here, very, very, very upset that this wasn't being done, that this isn't done. I think she said they started this process in November, so whatever we can do at a planning commission level, at a county commission level to help them get this done, we need to get it done.
And I think that we are doing that. I mean, hopefully she's not upset with the process here because there is a legal process that we have to follow and that's what we're gonna do.
Understood.
So we will move forward and we'll open this up to any comments from any citizens who happen to be here to speak on this major utility overlay, if there are any.
And they may have left.
So that being said, we're opening it, so that time, that will be done on our end, the public hearing. Since we're opening it.
I'm sorry, can you rephrase it now if we want to open it? If we open it now, we're gonna have to do it again.
Got it.
I just wanted maybe to suggest the body may want to do that if there's somebody that's been sitting here for 2 hours.
Yep, gotcha.
So I think they may have.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, once again, I will open this up to citizens to speak if there are any on this item. If not, we are going to postpone this and send it back to the planning commission. I know they're attempting to put together a meeting as soon as possible to keep this thing moving forward for the city. And I think we all realize the need for haste on this and we'll do the best we can to move it forward. I do not see anyone overly eager to come up here and speak. So with that, Andrew, I think that we can wrap this one up.
For the next item on the agenda.
Until the next. Okay, next. We will move on to number 6. Or are we?
We're postponing item 6 and 7, moving to item 8.
Thank you.
Or, I'm sorry, item 9. Or no, 8. I'm sorry, 8.
We are gonna move on to the ordinance, water use and preservation element of the general plan. Mr. Jackson again, planning and zoning director.
Vice Chair, members of the commission, I am Andrew Jackson, the Grand County planner. Before you tonight is the final adoption of the water use and preservation element of the Grand County General Plan under Utah Code 1779-403. This element's been in the process for over a year. Staff drafting, planning commission review, public comments, other rounds of revision. The document in your packet is not the one that we started with. That's because we listened. Let me say one thing plainly. The residents of this county have already been doing the work. Demand reduction here, it's not a goal here, but it's a measured performance. Our water users have already cut their per capita use. In fact, it's lower than what the state is recommending for 2030. So we've already reduced our demand below what the state recommends for 2030. This element does not ask residents to start conserving. It asks the county to plan around conservation that's already had. Ask the commission include the new section 5 with the graphs in the element as adopted that was submitted at your last meeting to you. And if you need copies of that, I've got extra copies here. Basically what it does is it adds graphs that detail what can happen if there is conservation and reduction on demand. Again, the graphs do something the text cannot. They let people see what demand reduction actually accomplishes, how much of our future we need, how much of our future need we can eat by conserving instead of building new supply. Comments. Now, the comments we received, they fall into 4 areas: climate change, water supply, use of the Colorado River, and coordination with Moab. All 4 are already addressed in the Water Utility Resource Management Plan for the Moab Spanish Valley. So if I look at this water element, which is a chapter in our general plan, and then I also look at conservation plans. It's kind of like doctors. And you have a specialist who's a specialist that's a dermatologist, and you have another specialist that's a cardiologist. So they're both medical doctors and can do certain things, but their specialties break off and branch off. And that's what we have with our chapter of the general plan that deals with water and water conservation plans. They both deal with water, but they branch off in different directions. But the key is, I think, here with the questions and comments that we've received, and what most of those comments that we have received are about: climate change, water supply, use of the Colorado River, coordination with Moab. Again, all 4 of these are addressed in detail in the Water Utility Resource Management Plan for Moab and Spanish Valley, which also included a portion of San Juan County that is in Spanish Valley. This was done as a $500,000 study. They took 2 years to do it. They made the presentation last summer to Moab City and Teguisa. And those questions are answered in that study. They shouldn't be in this chapter because those are already answered someplace else. And we don't have the time and energy to redo what they've already done because it's already been done. The plan is a coalition effort. Moab City is full participating partner alongside GWISA and the San Juan Spanish Valley District. That analysis does not need to be repeated here. If we duplicate it, we end up with 2 documents that drift apart and contradict each other in a few years. This element references that work and stays consistent with it. So coordination with Moab is something this element proposes that already exists. This element is written to fit inside of it. In closing, this element does not restrict any property or property owner tonight. It's a policy framework. It also doesn't have any impact on agricultural watering. Implementation comes back to you later as ordinances with their own hearings and their own findings. Staff recommends adoption of the water use and preservation element, including the revised section 5, and its graphs, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, I'm going to start with Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner McCurdy, and anybody else.
Let's go ahead and start with the motion. I move to approve the Grand County water element as presented with the graphs.
Motion by Commissioner Martinez, second by, that a second?
That was a second because he stole my motion. It's okay.
By Commissioner McCurdy. Further discussion? Did you have further discussion, Brian, or were we?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can go ahead and start and bring in a couple of things.
Trish had her hand up. I wasn't sure if you were.
I think I made the motion. I think that I still have the floor.
Please do.
So, just, I'd like to clear up a couple of things. So tonight we were brought the state code that detailed how this water element is supposed to be. So in that code, it says that Grand County will make demand, right, reductions. And that we will go to our water suppliers to talk about the supply, and then we will go to the Division of Water Quality to talk about any overlay protection zones. Also inside of that same state code, they talk about the transportation element, right? The word element as in a section, right? We also talk about the economic development element that's inside there. And in those elements, it says shall, as in we will do these things. We will have all of these things in. And then it also says inside of your general plan, you may have an environmental element.
Chapter.
Inside that chapter right there, is all of the things that we seem that we are trying to go ahead and put in. So for the folks who are really trying to come up with all of these environmental protections, that requires an environmental element inside of the plan. I just wanted to go ahead and clear that up. And then I have quite a few other things that I wanted to bring up here. You know, Grand County's culinary water is primarily groundwater, right? Pumped through Valleyfill Aquifer and the Glen Canyon Aquifer and Springs, right? Which recharges slowly via the West Sal Mountain snowpack. And Trish, I did go through the, or some apologies, Commissioner Hadeen, I did go through
My flood lines.
the red lines that you had and actually went through the additional sources that you brought up. And I also brought those sources to the Grand County Water, and Sewer. And they have considered those elements or those studies right there when they did their conservation plan. So those studies have been considered inside of the conservation plan. They are keeping track of that right there. And there's just some mistruths that have been spread both in the public, right, in print, and up here at the dais. And I'd like to take a couple of minutes just to go through and address those. So first off, the claim that Grand County Water plans to mine the aquifer, right? Grand County Water monitors culinary wells once a month. And the USGS monitors approximately 30 wells in Spanish Valley. Surprisingly, some of those are up and some of those are down. That's where we are. From the Grand County Water Conservancy Plan, right, it emphasizes responsible groundwater management through continued monitoring, conservation, diversified water supplies, and adaptive planning to assure the long-term sustainability of the agency's water resources. I believe pretty close to what Dale had mentioned right here. The second thing that I've heard about is that Grand County Water is a private water seller, and because of this, forecasts should not be relied on because the agency benefits from selling more water. Right? GWISA is a service agency, not a private company whose objective is maximizing profits. Water rates are established to recover costs of operating and maintaining water systems. Funds are also used for investing in infrastructure, complying with state and federal regulations, planning and water needs as the public water provider for its service area. It has a legal obligation to provide services in accordance with applicable law, water rights, system capacity, and agency policies. Number 3 that I had was that water planning primarily relies on obtaining additional water supplies. Right? The 2025 Water Conservation Plan places conservation at the forefront of the agency's strategy. The plan emphasizes reducing demand through water conservation, leak detection, system efficiency, public education, tiered water rates, irrigation efficiency, and ongoing monitoring before considering the development of additional water supplies. Right? And then the fourth one, which gets to some of the red lines, is that water planning does not address climate change and long-term uncertainty. The Water Conservation Plan discusses the impact of drought, changing hydrological conditions, uncertainty in future water availability, groundwater monitoring, and the need for adaptive management. These issues are recognized through the plan and are incorporated through the long-term conservation strategies. And our supply was based off in our general water plan. Okay. Couple of other things. Historically, the state of Utah has had a per capita water use averaging 223 gallons per person per capita. Grand County's per capita daily consumption is 184. Our residents deserve the credit for the work that they have done so far, right? Moab averages 269, and the state 2030 goal is 187, already below the 2030 goal. The other thing that has been brought up is tourism. And so to help understand the impacts of tourism on water, we can measure sewer plant inflows. which directly captured indoor water use, including hotels and restaurants. The data shows that at peak times of tourism, indoor water use remains remarkably flat year-round and even year over year. While indoor consumption stays stable, total municipal and district water usage skyrockets during hot summer months, which also was mentioned inside of the studies that you presented, Commissioner Hadid. Looking at yearly total water usage, early summers, right, equal more watering, right? That's the hotter it gets, the earlier it gets, the more people start using that outdoor water. That plus the wildfires, right, are the biggest spikes that we see in our water use on a total system look. Talking about the Colorado River, there's a lot that we need to clear up there. When we talk about the Colorado, we're talking about the future development of secondary irrigation water, right? So we can protect our primary groundwater from being depleted. Every drop of secondary water that we use is saved inside of our underground storage. That's a concept I think that we really need to all start taking into account. When we start looking at places like Ashley Creek or up on the Duchesne River system, right, they talk about curtailment. The curtailment there is when natural flow has dropped. There is not enough water, right? It's just physically not there. That's the curtailment that folks are talking about right now. It's not a curtailment on their Colorado River rights. It's just physically not there. Grand County's primary vulnerability regarding junior water rights, which our water rights are actually from the 1950s. So they're middle of the pack when you look at them, is tied to a compact call. And if curtailment occurs, junior rights would be legally cut off to satisfy downstream obligations, regardless of whether there's water flowing past Moab at that moment or not. However, the state engineer is responsible for the general administration, supervision, measurement, appropriation, and distribution of those water rights. Right now, currently, the state is creating a priority distribution model. It would provide localized data, engineering models, legal analysis, and it will improve our decision-making process. There's two things that we need to consider when we look at the curtailment. The first, right, is do you have water rights and what is your water right date, right, your priority? But second, what is the availability of the water itself, right? Is there actually going to be water available? So those two things right there will score where you're going to be at on that curtailment. They plan on having that out by the end of the year as we look into it. Claiming our Colorado River rights are not valid, right? Out of immediate fear of curtailment, I believe is just nothing more than a strategy to create artificial water scarcity, right? I think that if the goal is to restrict regional growth, then let's all just be direct and say that that's what we're out for. Thank you.
Commissioner Hadid and then Commissioner McCurdy.
Will I be afforded the same amount of time?
I
don't want to talk that long. I'm joking. I don't want to talk that long.
Anybody
I'll
off?
try to do the best I can. So it has been a really laborious process. The Planning Commission has worked really hard. I have tried many times to, be involved in this and was told at multiple levels, that even the last public hearing, that I could come with the red line and we could move through the red line. I did ask for this to be a workshop. I was denied that. And then I spoke with Chair McCandless and she said, yeah, we'll allow you to go through it. I'm just like, I'm exhausted at this point. But I do want to point out the things that I recommended, and then I want to go through a few comments, additional comments. So the things that I think that I recommended, I think are honestly pretty benign. But I think they would have been nice additions to our general plan. I think one, using climate information and planning to make sure that we are not exceeding our capacity for development is important. And so just acknowledging climate and natural water supply. God forbid we use the term climate change, but the reality is the climate is changing and our water supply is diminishing. I did listen to the GWISA meeting from Thursday, and I heard a lot of angst surrounding the level of Kins Lake. Like, I know that you guys know what's happening and I know that what's happening. And so it was simply just acknowledging that. Second, establishing a subcommittee, which we now have many of them, to assemble climate-informed water data for considering and planning decisions. And those experts could be a variety pack. They could be people from WISA, they can be people from UGS, et cetera, and so on. But I think it's something to consider as we move forward, because the reality is the planning department is very much a component of the development of this valley. WISA is a water service provider. Thompson Springs Special Service District is a water service provider. But the reality is we are in charge of development in this county. For making sure that we are protecting our EPA designated sole source aquifers. And I think that's just a really simple thing. Like, that's not asking much. It is our culinary water. It's extremely important to take care of that water. And then lastly, just manipulating that verbiage. Of course, I think using Colorado River water for irrigation is a fabulous idea. Like, for secondary water, I think it's a great idea. But just acknowledging that that is really theoretical. And that's the verbiage that I would have put in there, and just acknowledging, with that hydrologic system is under extreme pressure from supply and demand imbalances, climate-induced reductions in snowpack recharge, and depletions of our storage reservoirs. And I wrote that, and I believe in it, and so I will state that. So those are the things that I was concerned about. Here's my additional comments. To say that the Planning Commission listened or that we're listening, I'm going to disagree with that statement. You had a lot of public reaching out that wanted some additions to this. Planning commissioners that wanted some amendments. That didn't happen. This idea that we're using the best available science, maybe we are, but what I asked for again and again is that those were referenced in that document. And there's no referencing. And this is just me, the professor, coming out. But when we're saying we're using the best available science, I want to see that science in that document. And that's a simple ask, little footnote and providing a reference. So to hear like best available science, like, where is it? I do think we're doing an okay job conserving water, but I want to make this clear. Utah has the highest per capita water use in the United States, the highest per capita. The average is 82 gallons a day. We're up around, would you say, 180 to 200 gallons a day. So yes, we're doing better than the state average, but can we start comparing ourselves to the national average? Probably not a bad idea. And then I guess I'm a little like, yes, we have the RUMP and we have the conservation plan via GWISA, but this is a part of our general plan. So the county wasn't a part of the water resource utility management plan. I went to some of those planning meetings, but we weren't a part of that. This is our little own piece. So to keep saying, well, it's already been done, that doesn't alleviate our responsibility to put something that is, to me, holistic and acknowledging what's happening in our own document. So I won't be voting for this. I do appreciate the amount of work that Andrew put into this, that the Planning Commission put into this, that Brian, that I've tried to put into it. I went through this document again and again and again and again and put a lot of, and it never was, anyways, never came to fruition, but that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you. And then
it came right at the right time, right?
Mr. Attorney, you're next. Hello to Commissioner Hasler.
As Wes is in the room, thank you for I just want to tell you, thank you. I know we're talking about this right now, but thank you for the explanation you actually put on for candidates and elected officials. I know there are people in the room that can't be seen right now, but thank you for doing that. It was honestly eye-opening to not think that this is some of this is theoretical. It's actually in practice. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Hadler.
Thanks. Rain sounds wonderful. Okay, that
Smells good too.
You can almost smell it here.
Yeah, again, yeah, definitely thank you to everyone who participated in this. I think Trish's recommendations are common sense, reasonable. They don't clash with what's mandated by the state. I would absolutely prefer to see those in this plan. I will vote for this plan. We need it. But I think we could do better. And I think it's also, the general plan's a living document. Things can change and can be adapted. So I look forward to that in the future. Thanks.
Okay, Mary, did you have anything, or Commissioner McCandless, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah,
Did you have anything, Commissioner McCandless?
I just think that the planning and zoning department or commission went over this back and forth, and I'm happy to accept their recommendation and pass it tonight.
All right, thank you. I'll make a few comments and then call for a vote if you don't have anything, Mary.
Right now, I don't.
Okay, I'm glad to see that, Trish, that you see that the Colorado River using that water for irrigation is a good idea, because I really think that if we want to get serious about protecting our aquifer in this valley, that's going to come at a price. Any secondary water is going to come at a price, whether we pump it from the Colorado River or we utilize flood mitigation efforts to protect, not only our homeowners in the valley, but then to utilize that water for future irrigation. There's a lot of different things that we can be doing, and there's a lot of counties in the state of Utah that are already making those efforts. They're planning for the future, because Utah is a very arid, dry, deserty state, and we have to look to the future, and part of the future is the Colorado River and our water rights there. And any secondary water comes at a cost, whether it's there, and to get us on secondary water, I wish that I had it at my house. I wish I had irrigation water. So I do see the value in moving towards some secondary water for the entire valley and the conservation that would do on our aquifer. I do know that we constantly have a lot of people who voice their opinion from Castle Valley on protecting this aquifer, when I wonder if their efforts wouldn't be better utilized protecting the Castle Valley aquifer. And until Castle Valley starts looking towards a sewage treatment, they're not protecting their own aquifer. There has to be sewage treatment at some point when the entire, or the majority of Castle Valley aquifer is overlaid with a gravel bar. It's just natural that those septic systems are leaching into their own aquifer. And I think there's plenty of room in that aquifer to be protecting it as well. But with that, again, I think that I appreciate your work, Andrew. I appreciate the work of the planning department. And with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of this motion? Those opposed? And Melody, I didn't see your hand. Did you put it? Okay, thank you. All right, so that passes 6 in favor with 1 opposed, Commissioner Hadeen. And with that, we can move on to, I believe, the Burr Oaks subdivision. And the rain.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
This proposal would rezone a vacant 5-acre parcel at 4500 South Zimmerman Lane, just south of the Blue Vista subdivision, from rural residential to large lot residential. The change would allow about an 8.5 acre, about 8 half-acre single-family lots. Obviously, we're not discussing the subdivision at this point. This is just the zone change. The Spanish Valley Future Land Use Plan maps this area as moderate scale neighborhood, which allows somewhat more housing than what is proposed, even though we can't talk about that. Staff recommends the commission take public comment, which you already received some at the previous meeting, and I think there's been 2 public comment that was received digitally. It was in your backup material. That you review it and then make a recommendation for approval or denial. One of the questions though, or not a question, but a comment on this is, we have seen a number of subdivisions or subdivision requests in this general area. And I think it would probably be good if we could maybe, as the county, sponsor a limited sub-regional transportation traffic analysis study on this general area, so we can figure out, does this road need to go through? Does that road need to go through? Does the city be widened? How will we want to have access to this? Just because we've had several active applications in this area, as well as several people that have come to me just in the department and ask about development in this area. And so I'd recommend we can't do it at zone change. That's appropriate at actually the subdivision stage to request a traffic analysis plan. Just because the zone change, it could still be one house or it could be 8 houses. But once subdivisions are applied for, look at that. But I think it's a bigger picture that we need to look at, and it's not just the straw that breaks the camel's back. We need to look at it, yeah. And I'm happy to answer any
Questions? Thoughts, motion? I'll start with some questions. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
I know that we didn't approve the Novak zone because of the very issues that are brought up by 2 of the letters that we have in here, and that's the impact on Zimmerman going through there. And it was my recollection that we asked, or that I asked specifically, that we look to do a traffic study in that area before we did any upzoning in that area.
And with the Novak, help me if I miss it, but I think that they were.
Yeah, we didn't, they pulled their application.
They pulled it.
We still had conversations and said that there was a
You got public hearing,
traffic.
etc. And traffic was a big issue.
So you're correct. They did pull it. It was not voted down.
Yeah.
So again, that is an issue. Now, for the record, I have a son that lives on Zimmerman, and he hasn't, but his partner is one of those against this. So I just want that out there for the disclosure, but that's not my concern. The concern is that this area has a huge traffic issue.
That sub area definitely needs to have traffic analysis of that sub area. Definitely.
And honestly, I just think it needs to happen before we can upzone anything to allow for that. Commissioner Edine, go ahead.
Well, I think in general, rezones, and I really wish, and I know Andrew, I know that it's an ordinance, but in the end, it's a rezone. And so I would appreciate, because I think for the general public, they're used to that term rezone. I would love to just kind of keep that title. I think in the end, this is where, and I keep saying it, I think we need to pull the reins on rezones until we have land use code update, but more importantly, an updated land use map. Because I do think with an updated land use map where we're literally saying, okay, now we're cutting corners, right? Because right now our map is this future land use map, which is blobby because it was people coming to meetings and we were putting stickers on a map and going, well, this area in theory will be this, and this area in theory will be that. That is not a zoning map. I want to make that very clear. It is not. When we get to a zoning map stage, it will have 90-degree angles, right? And hopefully also within that, we will be acknowledging the road systems and what it can bear. I agree. I mean, I won't say that I don't know what you were pointing out, but, and maybe I missed it, Phil, but I think this area is, and I'm actually more concerned about Stocks Drive and the acceleration and deceleration lane. We had a member of our community and her son killed there. The reality is we do not have the infrastructure at that intersection to bear the weight of these types of up zones. And I think until we have that holistic view and that map in place, and then the roads department starts going and UDOT and I know we had that UDOT meeting recently where that was kind of one of the main consensus that came out of that was like acceleration and deceleration lanes, right? That really helped, like OSTA, that helps tremendously. That is such Stocks Drive coming out of there. And I do it all the time because now I roll through Zimmerman because it's a shortcut, right? And it was actually Russ Tangren recommended to me, and I think we're looking at that. There is that Sitla parcel or Trust Lands parcel near there that it's like, could we get an artery coming off of Spanish Valley onto 191 that you're not cutting through neighborhoods, but we don't have it. So to keep upzoning that area, I think is really scary. And then the last thing I want to state is, one of the things that one of our planning commissioners always said is like personal property rights. And he's right. But the reality is I moved into rural residential, I don't know how many years ago, 20 years ago, because I wanted to live in rural residential. I lived up on Juniper on a 1 acre parcel. And then I moved on to Heather and onto Easy Street because I want to live in rural residential. I don't want to live in large lot and I don't want to live in small lot. If I wanted to live in those, I would move into town. And that's not what I want to do. I want to have some pigs. I want to have some chickens. I want my rooster to crow and I don't want to have people complain about it. And so I think in the end, it's like this, it's kind of the more that we rezone areas where people have moved because that's the feel that they want, it's just I'm not going to use that terminology, but like screw you to your neighbors. Right. And I will tell you, I have some very active neighbors that are constantly watching planning and zoning because that's why they moved out there. So I do just want you guys to think about that I'm not a NIMBY. I want people to have a place to live, but I also want to have some respect that people want to live in rural residential because they want that feel, right? Like I don't want people complaining about my hound dogs and my chickens because they're right backed up against me. So I think I think we should think really carefully about until we have the land use code update, until we actually have the land use map, that we pull the reins on these up zones and we keep doing it. And it's a little scary to me.
I want to respond, Mike, and then I'll go to you.
I'm waiting on that.
To clarify, I am not against the up zone. I'm against that. I think we have the cart in front of the horse here. I don't know how we get there, Andrew, and I'm looking for you for that.
And this is clearly a legislative item, right? It's not administrative or anything like that. So you have your legislative powers to do what you would like.
Right.
I agree that this area has seen an uptick in applications. And I also agree that the existing transportation network in the area should be revised and should be reviewed. And I think that that's probably a sub-regional transportation study that should be conducted. Again, so you have legislative powers of whatever you want to do on a rezone application. You can deny it, you can hold it, you can do whatever you like. I do, though, also agree that there needs to be some type of a regional transportation, not sub-regional transportation network study that.
So do we not have impact fees that could pay for a study there? I mean, where do we pull this money from?
Yeah.
Have to add another item to our budget that we're still.
Yeah, so impact fees can do transportation studies.
And then would it not benefit this client to wait until we've had that study done to find out? Or the other thing that I might suggest is that they join the existing PUD right, or whatever the subdivision that's on Zimmerman Lane, the Blue Vista, and go through their homeowners association and become just enlarge what's existing there already if they want to go that route.
Yeah, and it's 100% your call as to what you want to do.
Okay, and I've got Commissioner McCandless, please go ahead, and then.
Thank you.
So I just want to note that, they are asking for 2 lots per acre instead of 1. And anything that's going to be rural residential in this county that's going to be 1 acre lots is going to be ridiculously expensive. So we're just keeping homes for millionaires out there in the valley in that rural residential area. And so I'm 100% for this proposal. I think that they are willing to take 2 of the acres to create their own road out there so that they, we'll just have 1 access point in and out of Zimmerman or Stocks or however it ends up being. I'm not going to look at the site plan right now because that is irrelevant to the fact that this is going to be, that we're going to allow them to put 8 homes in 5 acres. And that's already happened out there. That's what's happening in that PUD that you already suggested. But I think that I agree that we need to have a transportation plan out there, but I also don't think that we just keep stopping people from being able to build the homes that they want. And I live in town. I do not live out there, but I know in town we have people that continue to buy the homes in town and destroy the neighborhoods. We don't have kids riding bikes anymore. We don't have families in town because people have bought the homes in town and then spent hundreds of $1,000s to reinvest in them, and they only come to town a couple of months or weeks out of the year. Whereas if they had homes out in the valley that were, 1 home on a half acre, that they would buy those and that they would come out there and visit Moab on their, free time, and it would be a second home. And that's where it should be out there in the valley. And in the homes in the neighborhoods in town, we need to have neighborhoods. So I'm protecting the neighborhoods in town, and I am 100% for this rezone, or ordinance, or resolution, whatever you want to call it there.
I don't have the vote. I thought I had it in my documents. I was looking back. I don't have the vote of the planning commission, but it was either unanimous or 1 opposed.
Quick follow-up, and then I'll get to Mike and Trish. There's 2 questions. How much is this traffic study going to cost? I mean, when we're talking about we have impact fees that could be paying for it, and when, right? Because if these people win or lose the vote tonight, there's going to be somebody else come forward, and we can't keep putting this off when we know that, as Trish said, there were deaths out on 191 at Stocks Drive. We've had near misses on Zimmerman. I mean, I park there in front of my son's house regularly. It's tough to get through there, whether it's the neighbors cutting through as Trish does, or just the neighbors trying to come and go to their own homes in there. So there's a huge issue of traffic in that area, and that's where I'm at on it. So dollar-wise, I would like to know what that amount.
I don't have the number offhand, but
okay,
it's attainable.
And I think Mike, and then I believe it was Trish next. Or what? I'm sorry. Was it Doc?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't disagree with the direction there. I'd really like that study done. But in the same token, I'd like to make the motion. After reviewing the staff report, the applicant statement, public comments, the Spanish Valley future land use plan, and the rules in land use code section 9.2.5, and finding that the rezone from rural residential to large lot residential fits the general plan and future land use plan and meets the rezoning rules, along with findings number 1, fits the county general plan and Spanish Valley future land use plan. 2, supports orderly efficient land use. 3, fits nearby development, including Blue Vista subdivision. 4, can be served by enough public services. 5, does not harm public health, safety, or welfare. Like to approve.
Motion by Commissioner McCurdy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McCandless. Further comment, Trish?
Okay. I was going to make a motion, so it's, thank you.
A minute to build that.
All right, so motion by Commissioner McCurdy, second by Commissioner McCandless. I'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? The motion fails 3-4, the 4 against, Commissioner Hadeen, Commissioner Hadler, Commissioner McGann, and myself, Commissioner Winfield. I think we've got to get serious about a traffic study in that area.
Agreed, Bill. Absolutely.
We can't do anything till.
Denial.
Yes.
4-3.
Yes. All right, moving on from that, we are up to a resolution establishing an audit coordination incentive program for component units of Grand County. This, admin.
Yes. We have talked about this with the audit committee for the last year or so. And if component units were to use the county's auditor, the talk was that we would look at contributing $2,500 toward their audit as an incentive for them to get those in and get those done to where it would help the county's audit be done in time. So that's what this is. We had never formally addressed it. So that is this motion. I'm sorry.
Commissioner McGann.
Hey, so it's not in budget, but is this for next year?
There was.
So would it be in next year's budget rather than this year's budget?
There was.
Just approving it now?
There was one component unit that did use the county's auditor this year, and that was EMS, SSD. So there would only be one $2,500 payout if you all approve that for this year.
Sure. They were expecting.
They were the only, they were expecting it. They were the only one that didn't already have contracts in place with somebody else.
Ooh.
Okay, so they did say they would like to use that incentive. We offered it. I think we voted on it at the commission. I don't know where we're gonna bring the money from. Yes, county attorney.
We need to go back to item number 9. There needs to be findings to support a denial in the event that the applicant wants to challenge the denial of the subdivision on Burr Oak subdivision being denied.
Repeat what you said. I'm sorry, he's talking.
So we need to have findings for the denial. So the commission needs to go back and make findings specifically for the denial.
In the minority, I can go left and right.
There's no pending motion.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, I think safety is absolutely one of them as we talked about.
However the commission wants to do it, you can read the planning commission motion, but you need to create findings. So after reviewing, if you look at the,
I see what you mean.
so go down to the plan, there's not a planned motion or there's not a suggested motion in the document, but if you go down to the planning commission after reviewing and it lists out criterias, and then you need to make findings in the opposite of what it is. So if you look at
A through J, is that what you're looking at?
correct, yeah,
And so the opposite, okay.
but whatever, not necessarily
Right.
the opposite, whatever ones you think were the determining factors so that you guys can have a support basis for making denial. I just wanted to catch it because otherwise if we don't, we'll have to come back and do this again.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Do you want one person to do that, Stephen, or?
I'd suggest whoever is in the controlling vote, perhaps you could say after reviewing the staff report, applicant statement, public comments, the Spanish Valley future land use map, and the rules and land use code section 9.2.5 of the general plan and future land use, it does not meet the rezoning requirements, and we find as follows, and then you could go up to that section A through K. Any of the options or flavors that you like, and you make that finding that, for example, hypothetically, it does not fit the area around it, whatever the stance is.
I'll take a shot at it. I'm gonna, is it okay that I say I parrot Stephen's, what he's just said? And the findings, I believe, we moved to deny this rezone because it does not fit the area's character. It does not its density and intensity is not appropriate for the surrounding neighborhood and the surrounding infrastructure, or the infrastructure that overlays that, and thus safety is an issue. And I do believe I'm gonna say that it is spot zoning. On 3 sides of that, it's rural residential, I'm pretty sure, 3 sides of it, so I would state that it is spot zoning. And if you guys disagree, I can modify those.
So where does safety fit in this, county attorney? Because that's.
I'm gonna try to say that on that infrastructure, that it doesn't have the appropriate infrastructure. And however you wanna do that, Bill, if you wanna say that infrastructure doesn't provide for the safety and well-being.
Which letter is that you're looking at?
I just
For the staff report.
put,
I mean, that's really the only argument that I have about this entire process is the safety in that neighborhood.
Sure. And you could look at, I mean, you could add it into item D, will the community benefit? You can say, no, I don't believe the community benefits, an upzone in this matter creates a safety risk.
put a bunch of them in there.
Yeah. Is it density and intensity, if you're looking at that?
I did say that. Yeah, I said the density and intensity does not fit the neighborhood and or the infrastructure.
And the area around it, and then, I mean, J, but that's not a fit. The other items that we've noted are probably better.
D works for me as far as safety and the concerns with that road.
Would the community benefit?
Yeah, so we've listed Commissioner Dean's listed multiple areas. Is that something that's palatable to the people that? Yep, I agree with you.
One second.
What does that do for them being able to come back if there has been a road study done? I mean, I don't want to agree to all of these when I would have likely voted on this if we had followed up the Novak debacle with a traffic study or whatever you want to call the Novak.
So the current application before the commission now just has to have a basis, a final determination by the county body. Once they have that, either they can try to go through an appeal and say that the county has exceeded its legislative authority in considering the upzone. Or in the future, if they come back with a new application, that new application can be considered based on the relevant factors at the time. This gives them a conclusion, so to speak, without finding an approval or a denial. They're in limbo and they're entitled to a response.
Sure, but we're not adding an undue burden for them coming back by putting all of those, or are we?
No, I mean, the body.
Yeah, they want to know why.
Yeah.
You want to know. So if there's something they can fix, they can fix.
And the body has the ability to change its, stance later on in time. But this current application, based on the facts you guys have considered, are the following. And remember, the commission in the future could change its mind on this item. You guys should reconsider it based on factors. And your items A through K, all of those items, not all of them, they change over time. And so that's why they're findings. That's why you can point to some evidence. It's like, hey, really, will this benefit the community? And it's always a balancing. That's what the commission body is doing whenever you guys are taking legislative actions. You're looking at, is this a concern for safety, or is it such a great need in housing that we are going to say that overcomes? And that's why
vote on these findings, or
correct. That's the goal. So Commissioner Hedin's laid out the findings. I would need your help.
Made a second.
And Commissioner McGann's made a second. So you'd restate that.
So let me state it again, and I'm okay with using D and G. Will it benefit the community, or will there be community benefit? I would state that the infrastructure is such that this is actually would provide safety issues for the surrounding community. And G, is the density and intensity correct? I would say no, that the bulk of this is surrounded by rural residential, and the infrastructure is such that it's not appropriate for the proposed density.
And so,
all right, well, then we just call for a vote on that.
Then you need a second. And you got a second.
Oh, we did have a second.
Yeah. So based on those things, the commission, as we've stated before, has considered the staff report, applicant statement, public comments, Spanish Valley future land use map or plan, rules in the land use code section 9.2.5, and finds that, based on those criteria stated, that, the commission denies the rezone application.
All right, so I'll call for a vote on that. Those in favor of Commissioner Hadeen's motion, seconded by Commissioner McGann. All in favor? Those opposed? All right, the motion passes with Commissioner McCandless, Commissioner Martinez, and Commissioner McCurdy opposed to the motion.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry to
Thank you.
interrupt the discussion on item number 10.
All right, so we will go back to number 10.
We're back at number 10?
I think so.
Yes.
Can I? Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Basically, all this is doing is you're passing a resolution, and the expenditure for this year would be $2,500. This will be something that you'll have to address for next year's budget going forward. But this is a one-time $2,500 expenditure tonight.
So would we take it out of discretionary fund?
That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, let's
We
just
can
take it out.
certainly do that.
Cause that's not,
I
it's not
think we
much.
discussed doing that if we didn't have a better opportunity when we were in our last meeting. All right,
Go, Mike.
I move to approve the resolution establishing an audit coordination incentive program for the component units of Grand County. This year's fiscal impact, $2,500 to discretionary fund.
motion by
I
Commissioner,
second that, Mike. I like how you stated that.
motion by Commissioner McCurdy, seconded by,
Me.
oh. Seconded by.
I was like, did you give it? I was like, no.
Because you put all the components in place, because I was like, where's this money coming from? So. nice.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thanks for you guys. Thank you guys for working on that.
Yes, thank you. All right, so then we are moving on to number 12.
Correct, 11 is being postponed.
Consideration for adoption of a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than 1 million aggregate principal amount of transportation sales tax revenue bonds, series 2026 and related matters. And we had Mr. Keller. Yep, he's
Yes.
still here. Amazing.
We're trying
Mr.
to
Keller.
We're trying to get one of Marcus's associates to join the meeting right now, but
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Perfect. And I apologize. I was just on the phone there really quick. Did we get to the resolution for the bonds?
We did, sir.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys or council for letting us present today. We appreciate the opportunity to work for the county, and we're happy to kind of go over this information. Garrett may be joining as well here shortly. He's with the bond council that's helping on this transaction, and we will start from there. Now, I'm not sure. If Quinn or Mark need to introduce the project, is there any questions on that before I get into the parameters for the financing?
This is the Jackson Street drainage project is what this is.
Yeah, it's for
I think we're all aware of that.
And this bond is to cover the loan portion of the CIB loan, correct? That's for.
Correct. So to give you a little background on that, so a couple years ago, I believe this was in, Mark, you may remember in 2022, CIB approved a $909,000 loan at 1% for 30 years and $447,000 of grant money for this upcoming project. So you got a grant and loan combination from the Community Impact Board for this upcoming project. Well, I guess it's been upcoming for a long time. We're finally here to to get it going. But so that was the financing terms from CIB. And so for today, the resolution before you today is a parameters resolution that goes through a few different items. The main items I want to talk about today are the parameters that you would be setting to be able to access that $909,000 of loan authorization from CIB. So in the parameters, you would be authorizing up to $1 million of transportation sales tax revenue bonds that could extend out to 33 years at up to a 2.5% interest rate and up to a 98% discount. Now, again, those aren't matching exactly because we always give you a little flexibility with the parameters resolution, but they are all up to or not to exceed amounts. And this way, if there's slight changes, we don't have to go back through the entire process again with public hearing and everything else that's associated with this resolution. But the public hearing would also be called for as part of this motion, which would be scheduled for August 18th at 6 p.m. at your regular county council meeting. Maybe I'll pause there to see if there's any questions at this point for the parameters resolution.
Commissioner McCurdy.
I'd like to make the motion. I move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than $1 million aggregate principal amount of transportation sales tax revenue bonds, Series 2026, and related matters, and call for a public hearing at the August 18th, 2026 commission meeting, 6 p.m.
Motion by Commissioner McCurdy, second by Commissioner Hadler. Further discussion?
It's probably going to flood right now.
Yep. I think it's appropriate to make some CIB comments. When do you know? So there has been some discussion come back from CIB because this bid came in lower than we previously had estimated. It's possible that the CIB loan is going to be reduced. And which would then, the grant would also be reduced somewhat, and that would increase the match that we are pulling out of the stormwater mitigation fund. And so I've been tasked, considering I'm sitting on the CIB board, to see if that's actual or if there's anything we can work with it. But I want everybody to be aware that I think the increase to the stormwater fund would be 152,000.
Is it 152 or 110?
I've got 152,303. So possibly we're gonna see this increase on the storm mitigation fund and our loan and our grant decrease if this is in fact correct, but I want to follow up with CIB before we, panic or whatever we want to call it. So,
You do some magic at CIB, Bill.
well, I don't know about magic.
Work on that.
I will do my best.
I would appreciate it.
So if there's no further discussion, I just wanted everybody to understand that CIB might be decreasing this based off of the fact that we got a lower bid than what was originally estimated on this.
And can I clarify though, Marcus, just so everybody's clear, but we can, within this parameters resolution, these numbers can change as long as we don't exceed what is in the parameters resolution, correct?
That's exactly right, Quinn. You've hit the nail on the head. And before the motion, I did just want to introduce Garrett Gross with Gilmore and Bell as bond counsel. Garrett, was there anything else to add or addition to Quinn's question?
Nope, I think that's it. That just essentially they're the upper limits, and if that money is reduced, I think it's prudent and wise, so you don't have to come back and reauthorize to Marcus and I discussed this a little bit to keep that amount, those parameters, those upper limits kind of locked where they're at. But yeah, that's the intent, so that if it is reduced, we can always go lower, but to go higher, we try to set it a little higher than what's expected, just so we don't have to reauthorize.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. And with that, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your participation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Commission, and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Great night. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Commissioner McCurdy.
I'd like to make the motion to go into closed session. Reason pending imminent legal litigation.
Perhaps, Commission, is there anything else that you folks have on general reports? Because otherwise people may want to wait.
Right, so we're gonna skip over the general reports. There's a few more items there, Mike, unless there's a commission report somebody wants to stress. Elected officials, we really only have the county attorney, commission administrator. All right, so then we have a motion to go into closed session by Commissioner McCurdy, seconded by Commissioner Adler. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And we have Mr. Gleason here to be in this closed session with us.
I'll get